Good morning, Cyber Alert listeners. We are here at the Alive Cybersecurity Summit under the theme Cyber Resilience Defending the Digital Frontier. I'm Shervin Evans, your host, and I all here with me, as always, is my co host, Cyber Girl.
Yes, I am so excited to be here. What about you?
I am so excited exactly to see what we will learn, what's entailed, and when I look around and see persons are just coming in just to find more knowledge and more information about the cyber attacks and learning more about cybersecurity in general, which is really exciting for me. And I am so excited to see what else that I can learn from all of the different speakers, panelists, all the things that will be happening here at this Alive Cybersecurity Summit. Now, the Cyber Girl, I know last time when we had the Live Cybersecurity Summit, you were not here.
Yes.
So, how did you feel? Let's tell our listeners how you felt about that
Man,
time.
I am so excited. I am very, very excited. Last year, I was off to school, so I wasn't able to attend. And I saw it, you went last year, so I was able to see it
Yes.
through pictures. So this time around, I told myself that I will be able to go into the cyber conference just to learn and to grow and just meet different people networking.
That,
But boy, I didn't realize I would also be participating on my first time around coming here.
and the thing about it is that we are not just hosting this inside the Bahamas. That's the first
Yes.
thing. We are also hosting this at Atlantis. We all know the all famous Atlantis. So
Yes.
we are at Atlantis Live. So our listeners, you are able to tune in wherever you're tuning in from the world. You are tuning into something that is great, some information. We're talking about just cybersecurity summit, and when you think about cybersecurity in general, we think about hackers protection, all of these different things that we have to go through. So when we look at it later, so tell me, Cyber Girl, um, tell me about what you were seeing when you scan around the room and you can see exactly what's going on.
First of all, I'm going to start from the beginning from when you walk in because really when you come to a conference, you want to see things that attracts you to say, wow, like I'm really
Yeah,
at a conference.
correct.
And they have from the entrance a laptop that has the live business and everything in the cybersecurity summit. And then when you look at the bottom, there's keyboards and stuff. I was so amazed. Like I told my mom, I ran to it and I was like, oh my gosh, look, it's a laptop. Like actually a huge laptop. But right now, as you can see, people are just coming in and they're getting ready for this amazing event. And it seems it's going to be very
Yeah.
huge, very, very huge. A lot of pictures are being taken, food. You know, we can't have a conference without food.
Right,
So I think it's going to be a very great social event. And a lot of people really bond over food,
right.
being able to connect and talk and just talk about cybersecurity. But I think also, too, it's good to note that you don't have to be a cybersecurity professional or IT professional to be here.
That is true.
Like anyone could come here. You can, if you're running a small business, if you're running a large
That is
business,
true.
it's for everybody. And we know that cybersecurity is everyone's business.
That is so true. The cybersecurity is very important because when we think about it, it affects us all inside our facets of life. When we
Right.
look at trying to secure the devices that our children has in their hand, when we look at the devices we have around the home, everyone has a smart home now. When we look
Right.
at all the different things we want to be able to control our remote. We have being able to see around our home from camera systems. So learning how to be able to not only secure our homes, but being able to protect ourselves and all of that.
Yes,
And when we think about it, cybersecurity is everyone's
it
business.
is.
And we have to remember that it is not just an IT centric, but it is straight across the board. So when we look at from a board perspective, it has to be taken seriously from the board,
Seriously.
and then we move it down to the management. We make sure that everything is being taken care of. And as we go through the day, we will see so much and learn so much
Yeah.
on ways that we can protect ourselves, our family. So I'm excited on what's coming up. I'm excited to see exactly what the speaker has to say. We have a whole cadre of speakers.
I mean, when I looked at the agenda, not only for today, but tomorrow too, like the workshops,
That is correct.
man, listen, it's gonna be, especially if you're a professional and you're growing in the field like me. I'm just starting my career, and when you see, when like, I'm just so excited. just to see the topics that are being presented. The
Yeah.
workshop, I think, is very important because we talk about the theory part of cybersecurity, and for me, everything was theory, theory, theory. But when I got into like the field, it's a whole different ball game. And to see be able to go to the workshop and get practical skills of how we can protect ourselves and so much more, and just learn and being able to bring our laptops and just, I cannot wait for the workshop.
Right.
Cannot wait for the
I,
workshop.
I, I totally agree with you because this is something that is great. One, for once, I must say again, in the Commonwealth of the
Bahamas,
Bahamas,
yes.
we are doing things big. So
Big
what you will
time
be
in the
saying, you will be
Bahamas.
getting big things, big everything, big speakers. So remember, we do things big inside the
Oh,
Bahamas. So
yes.
when we get to showcase our islands and we get to showcase many of our speakers that who are local and
And that's the
involved.
main thing too, because I
Correct.
remember talking about this to someone. I was like, it's nice to, like, see you have international speakers, but local speakers, we have a lot of talent, a lot of gifts here in the Bahamas, and this is important to showcase our speakers here so that we can
Yes.
be able to say that we have homegrown here too.
That is correct. And I cannot say enough how important learning about cybersecurity is. It, like you mentioned before, say it
Yes.
is not just for an IT person or some technical one. It can be for persons, executive understanding what's inside the business, knowing what your risks are. You should know exactly what is my risk to the business? What
Yes.
is my cyber risk to the business? You have to understand, especially from looking at third party risk. You have third party risk. We depend on a lot of these things to assist us with providing service to our business. So you need to understand, say, our third party also securing and putting the necessary security measures in place? And these are what we have to also ask questions about.
And a lot of times people really wouldn't think about that. I remember when I first started to learn cybersecurity and the theory part, third party wasn't really something that came up in my head until I really got into diving in deeply, studying about it, and then being able to work and actually see how third party risk can affect businesses. Like, you think about business continuity, because if something was to happen like an outage, then
Yes,
how is that going to affect your business? It
that
don't
is so
have to be,
true.
and we think with cybersecurity, it has to be a cyber attack. But it
Right.
doesn't it doesn't have to be a cyber attack. A hacker doesn't have to sit down and infiltrate your systems. Something simple as, like we said, outage can also affect your business and could be is under cybersecurity too.
Right. So when you're thinking about cybersecurity, you have to also think about the word resilience. You have to
Yes.
ensure that what would happen, how quickly will I recover if something happened to my systems, if I have an outage, how quickly can we recover again? So all of these hosts, when you think it was inside cybersecurity, and when we look at some, I had some statistics that I
Yes.
actually I looked at, and we look at, and we says that cybersecurity are just here for the scenery. We're not just here for the scenery at Atlantis.
No, we're
But
not.
when we look at a report that was published by Viking Cloud for 2026 report, it says that cybersecurity is projected to cost businesses over 10 trillion annually by next year. So think about the 10 trillion, $10 trillion. And if we are not putting the necessary measures in place, $10 trillion is something that I don't know if any businesses can really take a hit for 10 trillion.
Yeah. And I feel like cybersecurity is almost like a quiet storm because, like I said, no one really thinks about it.
Right.
That's a lot of money.
That's correct.
That is a lot of money to be able to lose over just a
That
cyber
is so
attack.
that is
So
so
it's
true.
bigger than we think. It's not something that, and I think it's not tangible for a lot of people too, because when you think of cybersecurity, not everyone people think about IT. They think about the digital skills, but not understanding that yes, those things are important and it could affect your business financially, and you
Right.
will see it. You
Right.
will see it.
And that's correct because when we think about cybersecurity, we have to think about corporate governance.
Right.
Cybersecurity is a governance issue,
It
which
is.
means that if you have board, it's at the board level, which it should be at the board level because they should have oversight to be able to see and be able to know that the necessary measures are in place. So when you look at cybersecurity, it has to be taken from the board level. Then it also has to be at the management level because cybersecurity is have to be filtered down. It has to be the tone has to be set from the top and it filtered down
Down,
because you
yes.
cannot filter this from the bottom up. it will never stick. It will never work with inside an organization. But once the top begin to filter this down, then you will begin to see the change because remember, culture changes things and cybersecurity actually if the culture is bad inside the organization, then you're gonna have some problem trying to implement a lot of different security. That's why it has to be from the board.
You know what's crazy? I was just going to mention about cybersecurity culture and doing that culture inside your business because you don't want it to be. You have to have a balance.
Correct.
You don't want to scare out your employees and say that okay, you got to be afraid and everything like that. I think we should make them aware or conscious that okay, for instance, clicking a link. You don't want to get them too scared, but you just
Correct.
want to bring awareness to tell them that when you click your link, before you click a link, there are
Right.
certain precautions that you have to take in place. So,
That's so true.
you have to like hover over for simple terms, you will have to hover over the link and so forth and so on. I think when you were cybersecurity professionals, it's a bit more different because you will have to scan the links and so much more. But
Right.
for simple everyday users, there are simple things that you can teach them. Like I said, hover over the link to see if that the link URL that is on the email is
Right.
same as what is hovered on by your mouse.
Right.
So all of these things you can look at and see that okay, you teach them the environment, you have cybersecurity awareness trainings,
Yep.
you encourage people, and then you have consequences when you don't do the cybersecurity awareness training. And
That is
let's
so
talk
true.
about the cybersecurity awareness training.
In fact,
Honestly,
I think that my belief on cybersecurity awareness training, if you have not completed the training, then you should access should be cut from the network.
I
But that's
agree
the
with that
difficult
too.
way. But then again, you may have to. It has to be something that it doesn't cause problem, but you have to put things and measures in place so that everyone has to do it. And the way that that can happen if it actually filtered down, if it's
Right.
mandatory, but not only the user are doing it, the end users, but we also have executives are doing the same thing as well. Because I have seen where that I have trained the end users, but the executives were the one who didn't show up to the training, and they were the one
Wow.
who actually end up clicking on
Clicking the
some
links,
link
yeah.
and all of so once we can set that tone where that they say that look, this is mandatory, we are also have to do it, so you have to do it. And once they're leading that charge and once they're actually pushing that down, then we will see a change. Because remember, it's all about changing the shift and changing
Right.
the culture. We want to change the culture within the organization, and that is a difficult thing to do from the bottom up or even trying to insert that in the middle.
So let's give practical things here, right? Let's say we have a cybersecurity professional who wants to actually go ahead and bring that culture in from the executive, because I feel like it's easier to do it from the employees level. Like you can always do security awareness training,
Yep.
but when you reach into a board room, what are some things that you can do or implement so that the boardroom or the executives can understand that okay, this is serious, this is going to affect our
Right.
company, and we want to take interest in getting necessary things that we need to protect our businesses.
I think one of the things that you have to think in numbers and figures.
Yes,
And when
definitely.
you think in figures, you can go to them and say that you have to do this because this was a different threat and all of that. You have to speak in a way that when you say that this is about amount of money we're going to lose this tens of thousands. When they saw
Right.
that hitting the bottom line and they're going to lose a lot of money, then changes start happening because no one wants to lose money, no one wants to be concerned, or no one wants to be responsible for the ones who actually caused the company to
Yes.
lose money. So when you begin, and then you have to actually highlight the risk, just like how we also do enterprise risk. You also have to insert this inside the enterprise risk as well, so that it is also being monitored as well. And then you also have compliance as well. So
Yeah.
what you're doing is you creating a holistic approach. But when you have a cybersecurity expert or some persons responsible sitting at the table, then it's a whole lot easier to make it happen. But
Right.
if that person trying to push it up, then it's kind of difficult. So it's always good to have someone at the table who
Yes.
understands cybersecurity and can assist to take that from a technical into a business world, so that they will understand the business, they will understand the cost, they will understand the likelihood, all of these things, and from a business standpoint and a risk standpoint.
I even glad you even said from technical to business, because a lot of times for us technical, it's easy to just throw out and say, well, we had a DDoS attack and
Yeah.
this is what happened. And you know, but people don't understand
No.
those things, especially if you're not in cybersecurity.
Right.
You wouldn't understand, well, what is a DDoS attack? What is phishing? Why are
Right.
we doing these things? So I found that definitely understanding the business side, and I always thought in university, because we had a business course, a business technology course,
Right.
a degree actually, and I'm like, why do I need business technology? But now working full time and actually really being able to see it, I understand how important business technology is because they deal with the business aspect and also the
Right.
technology aspect. So you're able to communicate to
Right.
people who are not technical. And I think it's a skill that a lot of professionals
That's so true.
we have to be intentional about doing
Right.
that.
That's
Because
so
when
true.
you're moving up, there is not technical anymore. It's
Right.
more trying
Thinking
to
about the
be able,
business.
right, and
Stand.
trying to be able to communicate that and
Right.
the rest in a way where the whole
The
company can
business leader will
benefit.
understand
Right.
exactly what it is. But just wanted to listen, say to our listeners who are just tuning in, we are live at the Alive
Yes.
Cybersecurity Conference at the Atlantis, Paradise Island. We are here from the Bahamas, and we are coming to you, bringing this whole conference real time, exactly what is going on. We will be updating you. We'll be speaking to some of the
That's
speakers.
right.
We'll be speaking to some of the organizers and many of the content participants. So stay tuned. We will continue with this conference, and we will be back after a short break to you
Right.
in a couple minutes.
Good good morning everyone and welcome back. We took a little break, but we are here at the Alive Cyber Summit here in the Bahamas and at Atlantis. And I am just enjoying everything. What about you? Are
I
you
am excited. I'm enjoying this very much because when I look around the room, I'm
yes.
seeing cyber security professionals, I'm seeing executives, I
Right.
am seeing managers, I am seeing everyone who wants to just moving around trying to meet and greet everyone. And they seem to be excited as well.
I feel like this is the conference of the season. We're in conference season here in the
I
Bahamas.
totally
This
agree.
is the best one. I'm not being biased because I'm in cybersecurity, but this has to be the best one. Just how the aesthetic, how everything looks. You saw the hackers, and you take pictures
Yes.
with the hackers for
Yeah.
sure,
Yes. In
for
fact,
sure.
last year I took pictures with
Yes,
the
I saw,
hackers.
and this is why I have to
So
go and take pictures with the hackers too.
yeah, they're anonymous.
Yes, yes.
Anonymous.
You cannot. There's a mask. You cannot see them. You don't know who they are,
That is
and
so good. And I thought it was cool.
yes.
We look around, they also have the lighting. The lighting is beautiful. I mean, it's so, when we look around, we seeing just a trailload of people for miles.
And it's like a tech conference. It reminds me of a tech conference because being here in the Bahamas and you go and you see the different tech conferences, different parts of the world, and you're like, oh my gosh, I want to go to these conferences. And then to have it here in the Bahamas,
And this is
I
actually
mean,
the conference to be at right
yes,
now. If
no
you are
other
not here,
conference.
you are missing out
Yes.
so much. And that's why we are here. We are here to bring the play by play. As a friend of mine always used to say, blow by blow,
Yeah.
play by play, on what's going on with inside the realm of cybersecurity, what's going on at the conference. And we're here to bring the excitement to you because if you are not here, we are here to bring that excitement.
Exactly, exactly. I'm just so excited. And we see a lot of people are coming in, they're getting even from the IDs straight down from when you walk in, like I mentioned earlier, from when you walk in, they stole the show with the huge laptop setting. Man, I'm just like blown away. You have to be here. I mean, we can describe it, we can say everything to you,
You're missing it.
but you are definitely missing out, and we're
You're
not
missing
even
a
over
lot.
exaggerating. Like this is really put
Yeah,
together.
because we have leaders from all walk of life, leaders from the financial sectors, we have
Right.
leaders from the insurance sector, we have leaders from all facets, all the different sectors inside our country, the tourism sector. So we seeing persons from all over the place with inside the right here, attending this conference, trying to learn more information about what they can do to protect their environment as well.
And I want to specifically speak to professionals, early like career professionals, people who are just getting inside cybersecurity or IT or tech. I mean, if you trying to figure out what conference you should be going to, yes, there are many conferences you can travel to. But if you're from the Bahamas, there's no
Yeah.
conference other than the ones that are home.
Make sure that this is one of
That's the
them.
top,
Yes,
the
make
top.
sure that one of the conference you need to attend is the Live Cybersecurity
Yes.
Summit, and this is it is great to see it, and it was good to see persons that I know, and what was exciting to see too is school students. I saw a school student. In fact, I saw two of them so far inside
Wow.
their jackets and looking so smart, and which means that we are bringing our young people to the conference so that they also can learn, and they may be upcoming cybersecurity professionals.
Listen, this
So
is
this
my
is the
passion.
excitement,
This is my
right?
passion when it comes to the youth and education, especially not only in cybersecurity specifically, but in IT, robotics.
Right.
If you know me, you know I'm very passionate about mentoring kids and not only kids but high schoolers about those things. Because when I was in high school, I knew from a very early age, and I'm only saying that because my father, he's in cybersecurity. I have uncles who are in IT, and my first toys were like computers and mouse and stuff like that as a toddler. So yes, I was brought into it. But I mean, just to be able to bring the students here and they can sit down and it doesn't impact you. I remember when I went to, it wasn't a cybersecurity conference, but I remember Girls in ICT Day, and we
Right.
had it here in Bahamas. I didn't want to go at first. I did not want to go at
I
first.
think you made a lot of
Yes, I
fuss.
did. I did, honestly. And I remember you and my mom, y'all was like, Alea, you have to go. You have to see and be in the environment. And a lot of people, crazy enough, a lot of people who are still in this industry when I was younger, they're still here. And when I grew up, I was like, oh yes, I remember this. It was
Yep.
another event too that I went to,
Yep.
and I remember that I people who are like who I looked up to when I was younger, and
Right.
now I'm here in the actual field with them,
That is so
and
true.
it's,
You,
it's a whole like when you're young, it's a different ball game, it's a different experience. So I highly encourage like high schoolers and even teachers and everyone, just do not neglect those who are in high
yeah.
school, because they need to see someone, they need to see that I can do this too.
Right. And I remember when I first started many, many years ago, I was so I remember having a book called the Hacker's Bible. In fact, I
Yes,
think
I
I
saw the book.
still have that
Yeah,
book to this day that I went through because I always had a thing that if I could control the machines, then I would have all the power. You know that
you
the
do.
evil Doctor Doom kind of thing,
But
and then you see that
right,
that cry, that crazy crying,
yeah.
yeah, and all of that. So, and I found out as I went through the process of training and understanding, you realize that you hold so much integrity that you have to have inside
You
this
do.
game. You have to have, if you're, I mean, the thing between ethics and but going bad is just that word ethics, what you believe, and all of this. So we learn so much about ethics. We learn about the laws, so we realize that how quickly that we can get locked up.
Yes, and I mean, people think, and listen, we're gonna just debunk some of these myths here, right? We, yes, we're cybersecurity professionals. First of all, not everyone is like are able, well, not is, but not everyone choose to go and hack, because
Right.
that's another area that you can actually learn, right? So not everybody who are cybersecurity professionals are hackers. So
Right.
please don't come to us talking about, oh, I have a friend and she annoyed me, so I want you
Yep.
to hack. We're not doing it. That's
Yep.
and that is not ethical either, like you
Yep.
mentioned, because a lot of times when you do, especially certifications, they have you sign clauses and stuff to
That's
tell you
so
that you
true.
cannot, go and just break into other people's systems or
That's so
anything
true.
like that without their permission. So we are under serious and strict protocols when it comes to being able to hack and everything.
And that's so that and what you're saying is so true. But when I look at another fact that we fact is that by 2029 that the number could hit 1.15.6 trillion dollars That's how much we can lose with regards to cybersecurity, and that is why Alive is doing this. There would
Yes.
exist this whole gathering of experience from all over the world because the speakers are really from all over the world. So we are
Right.
not just talking about an IT problem, we are talking about this global problem. We are talking about uh, board problem. We talking about a CEO problem. We talking about a management problem. We talking about a business problem. It's not just an IT centric problem.
Right.
So to see all of these, all of the persons coming in to understand more about how they can protect their business from industry professional and experts, this is really great.
And I think too, it's good to see that we have businesses like Alive who are actually interested into knowing and understanding about cybersecurity and to be able to put on a conference like this. Because like you mentioned earlier, a lot of times people don't take cybersecurity seriously,
No.
and to see an actual business is able to understand that how important cybersecurity is,
Yes,
how important our data is and everything, and to be able to host something like this and in the
that's,
we cannot stress it enough.
that is
In the
so.
Bahamas, it is it's like a dream,
I
a
must,
come true.
commend Alive for doing such this fantastic job on putting this cybersecurity summit together. It was great last year, and the year they went all out, and
All
it's
out.
much bigger than it was last year. And
Yes.
I know they will be getting bigger
Bigger
and
and
bigger. So
bigger.
we will have sit downs as well, time to sit down with some of the contest, conference hosts,
Yes.
some persons who were in the trenches to put this conference together and find out exactly what does it take to put such a large conference together and have a successful conference.
And listen, I know it takes a lot to plan because when I was off to school, I had to do a lot of planning for computer science banquets and stuff like that. And we know it's not easy.
No,
So definitely we have to, like you said, commend
right,
them on to do something like this and choose cybersecurity. Because you know there are many types of different conferences that has
right,
been going on. But to see that there's a cybersecurity one that IT professionals
right.
all, no matter if you're
That
an
is
IT
so true.
professional, no
From
matter you're
all over the place.
exactly from all over to come here and do this,
So when we sit
right?
down here and we think, I want to bring something in here, and that is the human element of cybersecurity.
Yes, we
we
have to bring that
we,
in.
we, we talked about all the different facets, how it is the setup, but the human element is always there and it will always be there. Even when we move to AI, the human element can find some way to be in the midst of all these things.
Yeah.
So when we look at the human element, we have something that I coined many years ago, what I call the dead clickers. These dead clickers is simply persons who click repeatedly on a link, and even though that there's no action happening, they still continue to click on those links. And then when something happens, they say that I never clicked on a link. So we
Right.
have dead clickers. Dead clickers will always be around, and these are the human element would always have access to the data because they need access to the data in order to perform their daily tasks. So
Right.
there's always going to be a human element, and even though we're trying to remove the human element out, but there will always be a human element in the middle of the data and all of that. I know one
Right.
day we may see the human element lessen, but I don't think the human element will be totally removed.
I think I have to agree with you on that too. I think right now in the world, we're really talking about whether, in different fields, AI comes in
Right.
and it removes human
Yeah.
from doing the job. So now artificial intelligence is now able to do the job and they're able to do the job more efficiently, faster, accurately. But you when you were in cybersecurity, and I think that's why I love being in this field because once you're here, right, you can AI can be hacked. Let's
Yeah.
be for real. Like AI can definitely be hacked. And when you really study it and you study in AI
Yeah.
and yes you can use it for good. I remember you writing an article on how AI could be a double-edged sword.
That's
And I
correct.
love that particular phrase double-edged sword because it can be good on one side.
And it to be
Very
used for
very
evil on the
helpful
next.
and exactly. So on the other side of the coin, you see that it can be used for malicious intent.
Yep.
So definitely understanding that okay, we have AI is important, and then being able to flip that to say that okay, well we have it, but we don't want to rely on this solely.
Yep.
We want to be able to bring that human element into it. So,
And then why we bring the human element into it, because we still have some facets of remote work.
right.
Remote work. In fact, let's be honest. Even though that COVID-19 has changed the way that we do things, I know many leaders. They've said that I saw a study where it says 72% leaders are actually kind of losing sleep over the fact that they still have remote workers. Now, when we look at remote work, I don't, me personally, don't see remote work as an issue. I see remote work as an opportunity.
It is.
I think that if we begin to just close in certain things, when something has changed, you actually have to pivot along with the change. And what it does, it provides creativity. It provides ways that you can come up with ideas to provide protection. So if you keep it on the inside, it's boring. Now remote work, it gives you a little bit more excitement to look for something. Someone always doing something that they should not be doing.
I love remote work, honestly. I'm for me personally because I'm young. So when you just coming into the field, you're like, okay, I would also like to meet people. So I like both. I like to be able to go in and just to meet different people and working with them. But then I also actually like to be online. You being able to relax and to work, not stress. And sometimes you can be
Yeah,
burnt out. So I love remote work for when you're
correct.
being burnt out
Right.
of different things and you're tired. But definitely both of them are very important. And I know you bring up productivity.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you're tired, you can't do
Yeah,
it.
I remember during COVID, there was one of my leaders who actually were working from home, and they got the dreaded email, but it wasn't from their um, business email address. It was from the personal email address.
Right.
I think that leader got frantic, got upset. I mean, they went to their business laptop and logged into their account and granted a malicious person access
Access.
to their account. And when they realized that what they were doing was
Right.
wrong, then they power their system off and then they give me a call. So when you see that kind of mistake happening around, this is why conferences like these, and this is why when we talked about, I think we mentioned earlier about security awareness training. That's why training should be
Right.
ongoing. It's not just a one-time thing. It's not just that you train and say that that's it. You have to consistently train and retrain because remember, cybersecurity is dynamic. It changes. It doesn't stay static.
Right.
And when we do training, some training might be static, but by the time you walk 2 weeks later, maybe even a couple of hours later, what you would have learned actually is no more. You have to
It's not.
update that.
And I think this is another thing that I'm interested in. Apart from, I don't know, I always have something that I want to do in cybersecurity. First is AI, love AI. Next is cyber law. That was cyber law. Now is cyber psychology because that allows you to really think inside the mind of a hacker.
Yep.
Even now, when I'm doing work, when it's time to do things, I try to think of if I was a hacker, what would I do? What would be my next steps? So that's also other things to think about, and they do play on human emotions.
Correct.
So you will see emails that say like urgently you need to fix this, or your account is hasn't been paid. You need to
Right.
pay it right now. So they pry
Urgency.
on humans' emotions.
Yep.
And
Trying.
this is where you have to really know what you're doing, be aware of the accounts that you have, your passwords, and so much more. Because if someone was to now email me and say, well, you haven't paid for a particular product, I'm gonna be like, no, I already paid for it, because I then know, when the charges come off your card, you able to log in and see it and really track those things. And I think
Yeah.
even here in the Bahamas, we have to be really aware
Yes,
of
we have to.
just know what coming off your account. I remember reading something that says that there was this particular person and he was taking off 1 cent off of each bank account.
Oh, the
Now,
salami attack.
yes. So let's think about this, right? We don't really think about 1 cent. I mean, I can be so honest. 1 cent, I'm really not checking for 1 cent. But imagine being able to do that, but for billions and millions of
That is so
persons.
true.
or even thousands. Because I don't know if you can reach for millions, but thousands of people, and you're taking 1 cent from them, you're rich.
Yeah.
So definitely, just being aware of those things is also another thing as well.
Yeah, that is so true. I just wanted to give our listeners a update regarding on the agenda that will be happening today. Right now we are at 9:07,
Yes.
so soon we will have the welcome and the opening remarks by Franklin Butler, the CEO of Cable Bahamas, and then after him, we at about 9:10 to 9:20 or so. We will have also welcome by Senator the Honorable Michael Arquitas, Minister of Economic Affairs of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And then after him, we will also have a introduction to our keynote speaker, and then our keynote speaker who I really want to hear because he has an extensive background from what he does in sort of Afroton and all of that.
Yes.
And we're talking with Dr. Bright. He extensive knowledge of extensive things, and I'm so impressed with all the things that our keynote speaker is doing inside his country from a
Yes.
cybersecurity perspective, and even training young people to in the field of cybersecurity. Because when you go there, it is so much that is going on. So
It
because
is.
if you are not here, I don't know if you have time because I think all of the registration may be already closed. But you continue to stay tuned, and we will
Right.
continue to bring you up to date and give you that play by play, or as we say, blow by blow minute as we go through today. And when we still look around, we see the room continue
To
to
be full.
fill to capacity. It is, we're seeing persons walking around all over the place. And it is so exciting, as I mentioned, just to be a part of this conference. It is, I
I
cannot
I even want to
say,
add too. When you're on LinkedIn, social media, you're able to see all these professionals on LinkedIn and follow them and seeing the great work that they are doing. But to be here and to actually, I feel like I know everybody because you're able to follow what they're doing in their lives or in their professional lives, and just being able to see them in person. It's mind blowing,
yes.
and I am just like meeting everybody and saying, "Oh yes, yes, hi, hi, hi," just
Yeah.
meeting everybody around. So
And what we're gonna the speaker lineup is so massive and so depth with knowledge.
I
This is what we're
mean,
gonna call this what the Avengers of cybersecurity.
yes,
We're
I
gonna say
love
these
that. I
these
love
yeah,
that.
our speakers are the Avengers
The
of
Avengers.
cybersecurity. They're gonna bring a lot of knowledge, a lot of training from training background experience, and they're gonna continue to give us a lot of information that we need. And I remember earlier you mentioned where we talk about disaster recovery
Yes,
and understanding disaster recovery and business continuity. We know that the whole thing is business continuity. We know that disaster recovery is a subset of the business continuity. Disaster recovery is actually IT centric because they're talking about the recovery of systems. And when we hear business continuity is focused on the business itself because when you look at the IT systems affect the functionality of the business.
yes.
So that's why it's a subset of that. So we look at that. And inside this conference, as you mentioned, we will be learning a lot about that, especially when
I'm telling y'all, the workshop.
tomorrow's workshop.
I cannot wait for the
So,
workshop.
yeah, if you are missing that workshop, you have missed something that is great. When you
Right.
see the lineup, what we will be learning inside the workshop. So, I'm excited for the workshop and I'm looking forward to the workshop as well. So, when we look at business continuity, we have to tell. So, and the thing about it is that's why I'm glad a lot of leaders are here because
Yes.
they get to understand the importance of business continuity inside cybersecurity
And
as well.
you know what I want to add too, because we can use the excuse about costing. The amount of things that is going on here and the cost that they gave us to attend this conference, I mean, where where would you find that?
Yeah.
Where would you find that?
And one of the things that I phrase that I've always had is that do never let what you put on your body, which means your clothes, costs more than what you put in your head, which means that anytime you have an opportunity to learn something, you take that opportunity. And
all the
Alive has
time.
provided that opportunity. But what we would say to our listeners, share. Share this information, share this link, share the live stream so that persons from all over the place can tune in to understand exactly what's going on. And we can hear a lot from the conference hosts, and we can hear a lot from the speakers as well. So as they come forward, we will be interviewing our
Right.
speakers, and we will be discussing the information with the conference hosts as well. So I'm looking forward to a lot of what is to come, and I'm excited. I hope you're excited too.
I am, listen, I don't think excited is even the word for me right now. I am, it feels so surreal. Like I said, I wasn't here last year. So I always dreamed and I told myself that next year I'm going to be here and everything and just see how everything worked out and being able to be here.
Right.
I mean,
So,
I can't describe it. Like I said, I want to encourage more young people like myself who are young in the field to come.
so
Do not waste this
and I have
experience.
this
Please
question for
come.
you. I know that you spend time inside Canada and versus spending time now that you move back home. When you look at how how is it in Canada when it comes to cybersecurity? Is this something that they discuss all the time? What do you see? What do you hear when you were there?
When I was in when I was in school, university, um, right now, I haven't heard much about cybersecurity. Mind you, there are people who are there and who are doing it. I'm a part of the ISC2 Atlantic chapter there, so we're able to communicate and meet different people. And they have a lot of things that happen inside where I was in Halifax. They had conferences, cybersecurity conferences, and technical shows and stuff like that. So you're able to go to that when you're living in Halifax. But I was in Wolfville, so, and that was more in the summer. So they have some things. But in my university where I was, you will see more of, they have computer science. So I took computer science and they had programming, game development. You will hear a few people, like I was one of the few individuals who actually said that I'm interested inside cybersecurity. So we hear it often, and the technology is really advanced in Canada. And just even teaching kids, like I was able to teach some of my kids when I was doing my one of my programs, the
Your
coding
coding.
club.
So let's talk about your coding club. How
Love it.
was it during the time when you was
I mean, okay, listen, the kids are so cool. Love, love, love working at the school nearby my university. It was a different experience because I felt like the kids learned more, knew more coding, like about coding than me. They were just like like inside the schools inside Canada. They really have like they have different programs like the First Lego League and so much more. So
right?
they're able to learn about programming and coding from an early age. So I was teaching grades 4 to 6, and man, the kids knew more than me. But it was a really great experience. They really enjoyed it. They look forward to coding club. And in fact, I had a few teachers that came running to me and said, "You're the one who are doing coding club." And they said the kids always talking about it and they cannot wait. I remember when I was leaving, they were distraught.
That is
They were distraught. I
wow.
mean, they were like, "Are you coming back? Or you have to come back?" And I'm like, "Well, we'll see how everything goes." But I do want to plug in something, especially for I have like a lot of people who I know who are graduating from either high school or university, but
Right.
especially for the ones who are in university, I would say do make the right decision for you. But I do want you to understand that in the Bahamas there is space for you. I don't want you to think that there's no space for you here and that you're unable to come back and everything. And because we are a third world country, but we are a mighty country.
We are.
We are a third world, but the Bahamas is the best country in the world.
It's
240 the
better in the
world.
Bahamas. That's
Yes.
what we say.
So definitely, when I came here, I thought that there wouldn't be space for me. But talking to you and then my mentors and everybody, they were saying like, yeah, no, there is space for up and coming people like you, and I've seen it. I was able to work. I was able to do many things, and just being able to teach about cybersecurity at a young age. So definitely there is space and opportunity for you. Do not think that you're here in the Bahamas and there's no space. We have space for everybody else.
Yeah,
It's a growing field.
it is. It is a growing field, and we can see the changes, and we can see that as we have events such as this with conferences to be able to educate persons. We will get to see the transformation. We get to see more persons coming into the field because I think I think when you look at when you look at STEM program,
Yeah,
persons usually try to stay away from those because it's a lot of work.
it is,
It
and
is a lot of pain.
we're
It's a
not gonna
lot of work.
lie,
You don't sleep.
you don't.
Sleep is not something that you get much of
I didn't
because
get any sleep at all,
you
honestly.
spend time trying to learn. You're reading. I mean, you trying to find information.
And let's say too, it's a different teaching style, so you have to get used to the teaching styles because when you're in university, the professors are not babying you. They're giving you the content, and you, if you don't understand, you have to go then and like you always say, YouTube University. So
Yeah.
you have to go online and really search and understand and take that extra step. I had to do it. I mean, there were sleepless nights. I remember when I first came to university in my second, because I was online first year, but when I went in my second year and I really got into the actual things that I was doing, I had to call my dad. I was like, Daddy, what is this? I like I'm trying to understand, but thank God I was able to push through and he helped me with it. But I'm not gonna lie and say it's easy, it's hard, but it shows you whether or not you really want to do it
Yeah.
because in IT in general, that's not easy.
If you are just tuning in, you are tuning into the Cyber Alert podcast, where we are streaming live from the Alive Cybersecurity Summit 2026. You would want to be here. It is, I mean, it is fantastic. It is something that I'm excited. I'm
Yes.
excited. I'm just holding back my excitement because I'm streaming, of course, but but it is so much to see and so much to see so many persons from all walks
All
of life
over, yeah.
being able to come here and just attend and to learn more about the cybersecurity. And so, if you have
Man.
not grabbed your coffee, make sure you get your coffee. I already see. I have mine sitting here and ready to
Unfortunately,
roll.
guys, I do not drink coffee.
So, one of the things that I also remember that you mentioned, and which also you have to have concern about as well, you had a time where you were involved inside the robotics.
Yes. I love, listen, the robotics experience. Now, this, just like how this is a surreal experience,
Yeah.
the robotics and being mentors and actually being in the competition, that is a surreal experience because my university hosts like a robotics competition. So I actually volunteered. So I helped build like the actual missions for the first Lego
Right.
League. And then also too, I was able to volunteer, be a judge. I was able to be a referee, pit proctor, so much things I was able to participate in. And
Right.
let me tell you, the kids, they are so smart. They are so smart. They code, they have fun just to see their expression on their face. It's a sport. I want
Right.
you to think about it as, and I often tell people this too, that robotics and practicing is like a sport. Just like how you were practiced to go in and go to your practices and train for whatever sport you're in. It's the same thing with the robotics. You
Right.
train, you learn, you understand programming, and it's a competition where all the kids work so hard, and they have seasons too. I think this is we're in the season now for the first Lego League,
Right.
like actually. So they have seasons just like how different sports have different seasons, and so you really have to put in the work and understand what is going on, and what your program is doing, and what you want to do with that robot.
That is so good. And I remember you. I think this was the funniest one too. Is that when I saw you say that I'm a part of Capture the Flag. So
Yes,
that, I say, wow.
man.
I say you will attempt all these stuff.
Listen, that was another one too. Man, the robotics is good, but the actual hackathon that we had where
Right.
we went in and we were doing capture the flag.
Right.
Y'all, I was messaging Daddy. I was like, Daddy, what are we doing? But my professor, he was amazing because where we had to drive 5 hours from Wolfville to New Brunswick to get there. So he took his weekend to really take us over there, and I love my professor. He's amazing, and just being able to be, it was only five, like a couple of us, maybe four of us, and we went there with a dream and a purpose. A dream and person because like honestly I was out of my group, everyone else were programmers, or I had a friend who did his master's in AI and he was there, so he was there, but I was the only cybersecurity person who knew, yeah, I was going in cybersecurity, and we were there, and my
Yeah.
it was fun though. I glad I went and took the experience. We can even bring it here in the
Yeah,
Bahamas too.
because I remember when your mom called and said that she's down in New Brunswick.
Yeah.
She is a part of something called Capture the Flag.
Flag,
And my
yeah.
expression was, oh, Lord, no.
Mind you, let me tell y'all, I in university I did cybersecurity course, so we were able to learn hacking and everything. So
Right,
I know hacking. Like I don't I'm still learning more, but
right.
I know different things like the commands and everything that you use. So when I went there, I was like, oh yes, we're gonna ace this. We're gonna come out on top. But you know, I was a little humble because I was like, okay, yes, you know, we're gonna come out top, and then man, listen, we were stuck. We were trying to do the SQL injection thing, and I was
Right.
like, "What is going on?" Like, I'm putting all the commands. I'm like, "Daddy, I'm putting all the commands in. It's not working."
Because I remember when your mom said that, oh, she needs help. And I said that, oh my goodness. I said, but look at the time, right when they're about
Yes,
to
to
end.
finish.
I said, but
It was a good 5 hours. We were
I
in our
said,
competition.
I smiled because I said that, boy, she really have some serious nerves because it requires a lot of
It
practice.
does.
It requires practice
It's
and
not
testing and all of that and understanding the command to use based on what they are asking
right.
for. And if you run out of commands, then you use additional commands.
Right. I
So,
see. I didn't know. I knew that, but in my head, I'm like, yeah, I'm an ethical hacker. I know this. So I was like, I trained. I did everything. Oh yeah, I'm going to ace this. And when I got there, I was like, Daddy, I know. But I think for me, just being able to go and to just experience it, because I always helped my professor with the programming competitions. So when we did programming competitions, I was there to help,
right,
but I never was the person who was in the seat trying to figure it out. So
right,
it definitely gave me that perspective. And I also went to in Halifax. They had like an AI summit as well,
right,
because I'm like I said, I love AI, coding AI, being able to train it and everything. That's something that I learned in university, and I captured a love for it from then.
right.
But going there, and I was able to go to be a part. I don't know. I just volunteered, but for some, I don't know how the Lord worked it out. But I ended up in the cybersecurity AI room with a professor who is also inside New Brunswick, and I was able to talk with him and being able to learn about, because there's a research area in Canada where they research cybersecurity and they put out research papers and everything. So I was able to speak with him, and I don't know how the Lord worked it out, but all I knew was I he placed me in that room, and I helped him with the projector and everything, and we were able to sit down and have a conversation afterwards.
Right.
And so that's why earlier I mentioned that when you're new in the field, like I see a few younger people here, but I should see more. I want to see more, because when you place yourself
Yes.
out there, you meet people, and it's an experience that I can now sit there and say that I participated inside cybersecurity, capture the flag. I helped volunteer for the programming, the robotics, and everything. So it's an experience that I can later on share and also bring back home, because you can't think about yourself. It's also how you're going to improve your
Yes.
country.
Yeah, because inside cybersecurity things change quickly. Because
Right.
when I think back to when I got started inside the field many years ago, there wasn't much around, but I think that
I
I
wanted to
was
ask you that
a
question.
script kiddie.
Yes,
I
I
was
wanted
more
to
of a script
ask.
kiddie back then, where that I find scripts that I run,
Right.
and I think there was one instance where that I was able to set up a system and be able to get into that system. So it was a lot of practicing and
Right.
all. So it was exciting too to be able to see that, oh, I was able to hack my own system. So it was
It
exciting
is.
back then, and it wasn't a lot around for me to be able to do or information. But when I look at it now and the whole host of information that is out there, I mean, persons are writing books given the experience. And currently, I actually am reading a book right now of a pen tester who actually gives exactly all the things that went wrong during pen tests,
I need that book.
even down
Need
to he
it.
said that he shut an entire system down, delete a database, but not paying attention to the different commands that he
Wow.
wrote,
Yeah.
and then to find out that the person had backup, but the backup was a week old. I was
Wow.
like,
Yeah. And we always
whoa,
mention, because I think in our, even before in our earlier podcast episodes, we mentioned about testing your backup and everything.
right?
That is definitely
That,
important.
yep,
So we are here, and let me tell you, they have already gotten started. They have a video up right now, and everyone is watching it.
yeah,
So we see like more people are going inside the room and being able
yeah.
to just hear what all we
What's
have
going
to do
on?
today and what's going on.
It's
Definitely.
so. We are right here at the Live Cybersecurity Conference, and it is lit. It is alive.
Yes.
Just right, alive. It is alive.
Live. Yeah.
So we're here, excited to be here at the Live Cybersecurity Conference, and we're gonna take another break, and we will be back in a few moments.
Yes.
Welcome back to the Cyberlay podcast, streaming live from Alive Cybersecurity Summit, where we got started with the introductions, and we had Mr. Franklin Butler, who's the CEO of Cable Bahamas, who encouraged. I have a few notes from here. He welcomed the attendees to the Cybersecurity Forum. He asked them to encourage the summit attendees to engage fully during the event and share side. He also talked about cybersecurity is being more of a business imperative. And so it was really good to hear the CEO, the
Right.
leader of KO Bahamas, strongly recommend how important cybersecurity
Right.
is. And he stated how we ought to be involved inside the cybersecurity. He talked about the importance of cybersecurity as well, how it is shaping where we do work with technologies and all of that. He also noted that cybersecurity impacts the various sectors, as we have been saying from the beginning, including the telecommunication, the financial services, the government, and small businesses as
Right.
well. He stressed the need of leadership and accountability at all levels with regards to cyber threats.
And we just talked
And
about that earlier.
these are the stuff that we will talk about. He highlighted the commitment of their companies to secure connectivity that is faster and reliable and secure. And he also spoke about digital trust as well,
Right.
which is very important. He underscored that the importance of trust in digital progress and the necessity of safeguarding through ongoing investment and education and collaboration, which of all the things that we have been highlighting from here, how it talking about trust, investment, collaboration, and we highlighted, spent many time speaking about education to
Yes.
that effect. And he also described the summit as a platform for meaningful conversation, practical insight, and cross-sector partnership, which we also highlight that it is a partnership.
It is.
Because when you look at it from a cybersecurity perspective, you have the the malicious actors. They are working together. But here it is,
They
the
are.
cybersecurity professionals, we are separate and apart. We are not working together as well. So after him, we also had the minister, Michael Akitas, Minister of Economic Affairs as well, who brought remarks as well. And the minister says that cybersecurity has as a core pillar of national economic policy and merely is not an IT issue.
And we mentioned that too earlier. It's
Right.
not an IT issue. Yes.
And both Franklin Butler and Minister Alcides mentioned that is not an IT issue, which means that we were talking about how cybersecurity is a business centric.
Right.
And some of the things that he also mentioned is security and excuse me, economic stability. It says cybersecurity is embedded in the financial security, trade, and investor confidence. So now, when we talk about how we handle cybersecurity inside the Bahamas or anywhere in the world, we know that if we hear a lot of incidents that are happening in particular jurisdiction, we kind of get kind of concerned. Say, I don't know if I want to invest in that area
Right.
because it can shake investor confidence and what all we do.
But even so, like when it comes to different companies, like banks and all that, I'm pretty sure that no one wants to put their money into a bank that always getting cyber attacks. So it
That's
does deals with confidentiality and reputational risk. It's
right. And
very
one
important
of
with
the
that.
things he highlight again is about digital growth, increase in risk. We have been talking and discussing risk
Risk
all
all
morning from the
yes.
time we went live. We have been discussing risk. You talking about accelerated digital adoption, which means that small businesses have to adopt digital transformation with inside. And we do know that we have digital, especially digital payment platform inside it. We have the central bank has launched the digital platform,
Yeah.
digital currency, which allow you to be able to go and do commerce at some other place. And there's other places like Canoe and all those other
Right.
places who we have do deal with it. So once we can educate our persons, we can continue to tell businesses that you can adopt these kind of things that will make things easier for when you process stuff with inside your organization. Start having the cash around.
Yes, and the thing is, right? I know for humans, we love like you said, we love cash. We like to keep things physically, and there are a lot of myths that can come up when you're using digital currency
Right,
because a lot of times people will think, well, they're trying to control us and they're
right,
trying to know different things, and
right,
but really, I mean, it makes your life easy. It makes your life
right,
easier because sometimes you might not have like your wallet with you, and sometimes you can't carry your wallet with
right,
you certain places.
right.
So being able to use your digital currency to pay for different things, I personally I love it.
Right.
I honestly I
And
love
he
it.
also talked about regional estimate indicate the same thing. We're talking about billions in cyber related losses,
Right.
including reputational damage, which is really, when we think about reputational damage within a business or even a jurisdiction, reputational damage is so much difficult. It's difficult.
It
Now,
is.
it's difficult for a business to recover. I have seen businesses close their doors. They have rebrand their company, changed the whole thing about the company. And in fact, they had to remove many of their executives because even though they rebrand, they still had the same heads. So they had to change all of that
Right.
in order, and it requires a lot of money spent in
It,
order
it
to
does.
rebrand.
It definitely does. And we talk, I know I always mention when I talk to my family members, especially my sister, I always say that your name is the only thing you have. So when you think about your
Yes.
business, your name is the only thing that you have, honestly. So you definitely have to understand that in a business perspective, you need to know that when you're doing things, you're not causing damage to your brand or to your name.
Right. But another thing with Alcides spoke about the national capacity and response. He spoke about the OAS maturity assessment, highlighted area of national strength and gaps in incident response and resilience. Now, we mentioned, in fact, we did a whole episode of the Cyber Alert podcast where we spoke about incident response
Yes.
and resilience and how organization has have to organization have to have the necessary policies and practices in place, and you have to test them,
And I
not
love
just to
talking
say
about
that you
incident
have
response.
those things in
Yes.
place. And so to hear that he is actually speaking about that, and then he also highlight the National Computer Incident Response Team and commended the strong performance. And we are so happy that for Cert Bahamas, Cert BS,
Yes.
and they're doing a
An
fantastic job.
amazing
And it
job.
is good to know, and in fact, that they are led by Simitra McKinney, who is one of the speakers at
Yes,
Organize right
at
here today as
right
well. And she has done a fantastic job to build that from the ground
ground
up.
up.
And
Yes.
she's continued to lead her team. And the one thing I like about it is to see the various alerts that we will receive to tell us
Listen,
exactly
I
what's
have
going
to
on.
commend them on that because honestly, I I love to see that we're able to get the alerts and they do it to their constituents. So if they know that you are dealing with this and or a particular vendor or
Right,
someone and you see there's a vulnerability, you get the email, and so it makes me aware because I'm like, okay, I remember a recent one came out and I was like, oh, because I was learning something at work, and right with that same day when I learned that particular thing,
right.
another alert came out. I was like, wow, this is so interesting that what I've learned and I'm seeing it happen, and they send it out. I think I must commend them on that. I always read the alerts all the time,
Right.
get an understanding of the vulnerabilities and so much more from it. So
Right.
definitely, I have to commend them on
And
that.
the next thing that he talked about cybersecurity as an economic opportunity. Remember one of the podcasts that we had
We talked about this. That's crazy part too. We talked
We
about
had
all of
one of our
this in the
cybersecurity
podcast.
podcasts, which really was good. We talk about the growth of demand. We talk about cloud services, digital protection solutions, and he talked about cybersecurity experts, which we just mentioned that we do have a bench here of cybersecurity experts. We just need to give them more visibility. And I thank Alive for having a lot of local cybersecurity professionals in the lineup today who will be speaking from what they are saying from inside the environment here inside the Bahamas.
Right. Yes.
So
Definitely.
he talked about as well building local cybersecurity talent and response, which we just you
Talked
made
about,
and
yeah.
you made a just made a a call a clarion call for more of the Bahamians who are in this
Yes.
field who are away to come back home because
We need
there's
more.
space for them as well.
And we need more young people. Like, come out, come to these things. Like, it's we're here. I'm here.
Right.
All
And
of
he
us are
talked about
here.
national security, he talked about workforce
Yes.
development, he talked about economic diversification. And when you see all of these things, cybersecurity and IT helps with all of the things that they try that the minister mentioned inside his speech. He talked about policy and legislative progress, and that was a good thing to hear. The progress and legislative being certain things that being legislated within inside the country to protect. And one of the things
The
that he
Data
hired,
Protection Act we
he,
talked
he
about.
did highlighted the Data Protection Act that we have, and I think it has just been uh, redone or updated
Right.
recently. So that's another thing that we can look for. He said new digital transformation strategy is forthcoming. Now I'm looking for that because he said that the new digital transformation strategy is forthcoming. So that's what we want to see. We talk about public and private dialogue, as the summer strengthening resilience while supporting economic expansion as well. And Minister Alhidas, really gives a wealth of information
Yes.
and give us an insight from a governmental perspective on what is happening, what it is saying, and to know that our government is taking it serious and being able to put the necessary things in place, whether it's legislation, whether it's certain process, certain procedures in place to to assist. And I am excited about this, and
I
I'm
am
excited
excited. Yes.
that there are some of the highlights from his speech. Hopefully, we are able to actually have a sit down with him when he's done, and we are able to just have a few questions for him and just talk so he may be able to bring us additional more insight onto many of these things as well.
But when I sat down and I listened to his speech that he gave earlier, I remember we did a podcast on cybersecurity and economics. And I remember when I was doing, I was like, yeah, economics. I have a love hate relationship with that, so I was like, okay, yeah, we're doing this. But to actually see him go up there and present on it, it made me realize how both come together is very
Yeah.
important. And it really bring a whole different perspective on it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thoroughly
I,
enjoyed it. And it's
I
interesting
did
how
too.
some of the things we talked about earlier, but they're not early, but also in the other podcast seasons came up here, and he was able to present the same things on cybersecurity and how economically we need to build more, and even we talked about the national talent and so
Right.
forth and so on. So yeah.
Yes, so I'm excited to hear more about it and to hear and when we did set out to do a lot of those episodes of the Cyberloid podcast, those previous episodes. In fact, we have two episodes that's supposed to be
Coming out
dropping
soon,
soon.
yeah.
Yeah, but the previous episodes that we did, we sat there from listening from Mr. Franklin Butler and listening from Minister Alcides, we were able to hear many of the things that we discussed straight through those previous, I think, 9 or 10 episodes that we have already spoke to. And it was amazing to see that we all inside the same tune. The fact that we talk about these things ahead of time
Yes.
was last year, and then this year we are hearing that the minister and the CEO of KO Bahamas, Mr. Franklin Butler, talking a lot about the same things that we have discussed.
Right. So it definitely, we're all of us in the same mindset. We're in the same mind. We know that cybersecurity is important. I don't know how much times we can stress that. You can't like, boy, you have to understand that just like how you care for other things inside your businesses, you have to care about cybersecurity as
You
well.
have to. It is an important thing pertaining to all of our businesses, everything we do. I mean, it deals with cybersecurity. When we use ATM, we use all of the stuff within our daily, our cell phone, our iPods. Where we no longer are playing CD cassettes. We are streaming them on the internet. We are everything. We have a smart television. So when we look at our Ring door bell,
Yes, and and even on social media, I would like to add this too because I know all of us watch the Super Bowl, and everyone is talking about how like Ring is trying to use AI to track dogs. So they use the commercial as we're gonna have access to everyone's Ring light and Ring camera, sorry, and they're gonna be able to track where your dog
yeah,
is. And I understand the outrage because when I first heard it, like I said, for someone, I love AI, but I know the difference when it comes to that. And when I sat there, I was like, oh my gosh. You know what it is to have, like, you know much, first of all, AI, you need data.
right,
So whether we talked about this in our earlier podcast, whether that be your actual information, so your name, your address, and so forth,
right,
but it can also be pictures as well.
right.
And we know that your biometrics is also important. So when we see those things happening, I'm like, okay, now they have your face. And if they, like I said, they do it for the dogs, right? And they use it as the dogs. But we need to really think, especially as cybersecurity
That is
professionals,
so true.
what's more, what's really underneath this?
Correct.
Because they're saying dogs, but now you're gonna see that okay, they're gonna have your face,
Right,
and nowadays, we see that your face is also important for certain things. So your face is important for IDs.
right.
People can make IDs with your face,
That is
and
so
and
true.
then that leads to identity theft. So we really have to, when we see these things, we can say yes, it's cool. I mean, I don't want to stop and scare people into saying that no, it's not cool. It is cool, and I love AI,
Ah,
but we really need to think about
talk.
more. We need to think about more when it comes to that as
Right.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is so true what you were saying about AI and how it all play. In fact, one of the speakers will be touching on that as well in this conference. So we're gonna have a whole cadre of speakers speaking on different topics that actually relate to cybersecurity. And if you listen in carefully, you will see how everyone are actually just building this
Right.
brick, building this house because it's persons are just adding their brick until we build this whole big environment that we have to so
Right.
protect the environment as well. So when we think about the summits such as this, I always go back. I remember the time when I attended one inside a conference inside, I think it was inside Las Vegas, and this summit actually can compare to the
I
ones
have
in
to,
Las
yeah.
Vegas based on what I've seen Kill Bahamas and Alive has done with regards to this conference. It is really tremendous, and to see all of the attendees at the conference, and they're listening. We went into the room a few moments ago, and the room was really filled.
Well, yeah.
It was filled, and everyone was in tune, listening to what they can hear or what they can learn as well.
I also like how the room is huge, but it's not too big.
Right,
Meaning that like we have a lot of people inside the room, but I feel like even when sitting in the back, you can literally feel like you're up front.
right,
So you're getting that whole experience. It's just, I mean, like I said, you have to be here. I want to encourage people to, even if you aren't able to make it this year, next year is always, but please make this the top of your list to come to, especially here in the Bahamas, like
right.
we mentioned before.
Right. And then one of the things we hear from everyone thus far who has spoke was cyber resilience. Cyber
Cybersecurity,
resilience seemed to be
the
the,
theme.
the theme. And in fact, that is the theme
Yeah,
of the conference because we hear everyone cyber resilience, cyber resilience. So this is pretty good. And I trust me, I am enjoying myself because cyber resilience, we have to think that through. We have to make sure that certain things are in place because at the end of the day, we want to ensure that our organization can withstand. And it boils back down to recovery, How quick can you recover? Because I remember, I think, forgot who made the statement, says that it is not if you will be attacked, but when.
When, yeah, I remember that
And
quote.
knowing when you will be attacked and what to do and how can you recover, it is something that you will want to do.
I agree because attacks happen all the time. In fact, attacks are happening right now. But it's just us being able to put in the necessary tools to prevent it and to decrease the risk and have and decreasing it from being worse off than if it was if you didn't have anything put in place
Right.
at all.
And when you think about it, when we are asleep, we have the bad
Because
guys. And
honestly,
that was another thing I saw, that you
honestly,
sleeping, these fellas don't sleep.
they don't
They are
sleep.
working overtime.
Imagine waking up and you're sleeping, and when you wake up, it's like the whole world shut down. That happened plenty times before,
Yeah.
so that's why I can attest to it. But I think my I do agree with you. They don't sleep. They're going, and sometimes you could run different things and have that going. Especially if you think about brute force attacks, you can have that going all the time.
Right.
So definitely understanding and just for users understanding the practical ways as cybersecurity professionals, that's our job, so we need to know like the complicated things and everything. But cybersecurity, we need to bring cybersecurity to people so that it'll be easier for them. It's not complicated once you're able to understand the basis, which is secure your passwords, use strong passwords, use
Yep.
passphrases because it's recommended use passphrases,
Correct.
use symbols. We know. Listen, we then know this. Exclamation point is a one,
That is so true.
E is a three, or we can tell that.
Right.
We can tell, and if we can tell that, cyber criminals can also tell the same thing too.
Right.
So when they run their brute force, they already have in the system that exclamation point is one. So if you think you're replacing a one with an exclamation point, we already know. So
So,
please,
you're
I've seen
right.
people who
And
use different language for their password.
correct. And the other thing
That's
too is that
cool too.
what persons uses is that their favorite pet, their
Okay,
children.
and this is one of my pet peeves, and I have to say this too. When you're using, and even for multi-factor
Yeah.
authentication, and we want to talk about, once you put in your password, they have something where you either can send a get a code, or you can put in, they'll ask you a question like, what is your parents' first name or where do they live or stuff like that. Do you know that all that information is online? I can literally search up all that information. So once I pull a proof force attack on you and I'm able to get in your account and you have a two-factor authentication, and it's where do you live, or where did your parents get married? I can find that online and then boom, I'm able to get in. So we have to be aware, especially with multi-factor authentication, what are we using? Are we using those simple things to say that that's two-factor authentication, or are we using something more robust? So that's another thing I have to throw inside that because that's like one of my pet peeves. I'm like, I know the answer to this because I can literally go on Facebook and get it. So we have to be aware of those things too.
That is so true. But I like this forum because it seems it's an educational forum.
Yes.
It is an educational forum where that persons, whether you're technical and non-technical, you can be here. You can learn something. I think that when I heard from the minister and just hearing from a governmental perspective what they're doing, I was excited sitting in the background. So anyone else would who here, whether you technical, and you didn't have to be technical to understand that. It was exciting to
And you
hear
don't even
some of
have
the
to be
things.
technical to be in cybersecurity too. So definitely, I do agree. It was exciting, and just to know that the government actually cares about it, and they're putting into action, putting into place
Yeah,
things so that we can be able to be robust as a country. So
that, that
it was definitely very informative and everything.
I thought so too. I thought it was very informative and it was very enlightening. But like we mentioned again, when you talked about password, and that again, the human element come into
Yes,
play
it
as
does.
again. Remember that as we say that people are a creature of habit. They find what is easier for them, and then they will do it.
I'm
The
gonna give
difficulty is no.
I'm gonna give you a statistic that IBM gave, and I love to tell people this to make them understand how human is like human error or human plays a value role inside cybersecurity. So when you look at their cost of data breach, they said that 90% of data breach happened because of human error.
Wow.
95%.
Wow.
95%. So imagine that. And that's, I do agree with you. That's why it is very important for us to educate humans and to understand they are coming for you. You are the first line of defense.
Line of defense.
They're coming for you. And you have to understand that when you click on links, when you do certain, even scanning QR codes, that's another thing too.
Yep.
And I have to mention that it's called Question, where you can literally go in, you can sit, and we know we are tech savvy, especially people who love technology and love innovation. You're saying, oh, yes, this is going to be so easy. I'm going to get the QR code and I'm going to scan my phone with it. I remember I was doing a speech on that. And I had first, and I was like, okay, we're gonna do this, and I have the lesson plan here, so I want you to actually scan. And they scanned it. And just like that, I didn't have anything malicious on it. But like I said, I had something to say, well, you've been phished, saying
Right.
that you you have to be careful of even scanning QR codes.
And I can
It's
imagine the
crazy.
faces of
They
those
were
that
like,
were
one of them were like, you can't catch me off guard with that. I already know that.
right.
But other ones, another person told me, she was like, I was at a different conference and they did the
Right.
exact same thing, and she's like, now I'm back here and I
But
scanned it.
we always seem to fall for the same thing right
Yeah,
now
so
as well.
I
So
was just like, oh my gosh, very crazy. But
yes, so when we look at the human element always come into play in any event because they will have access and all of that. And then the thing about it is that when we see something new, we want to try it. And
we like new things, like we say in the Bahamas,
yeah,
things.
we would try it.
Try
That's
everything.
something new. I want to try that as well.
I'm
So
also a victim of that. I'm gonna be so for real. I love new things too, so I tend to be like, oh my gosh, this is so crazy. Like I get that excited,
right,
but then as a cybersecurity professional, like it's still running in the back of my mind, like okay,
right,
Leah, like what if something like this was to happen with you. So I think everything is just aware. I realized that when you teach people and you bring awareness, you will see certain things
right,
happen. So, like for instance, if you do, that's why we mentioned cybersecurity awareness trainings are important.
right,
If we tell people that do not click a link, be careful, do not do this or do not do that, they become more aware. And so now, when it's time to, even in your company, when it's time for you to sit down and say that, okay, they get a malicious email, they're not able to say, call you and say, well, hey, I got a malicious email. I'm afraid to click it, but can you check this out for
right.
me? And that's when you see that, that's when you know that you're doing well in your
Right.
awareness training. Now I want to talk about this too. I want to add. Do you like online awareness training or do you prefer to be in person and teach the awareness training? Because I know it could be different and
Yeah, there's
it's
a
a whole
difference.
different ball game when it
There's a
comes to that.
difference. What happened with persons, I think organizations now, they are saying that I need something that we can do quick.
Right.
We do quick. The user sit at their desk. We clicked on that. They go through. They pay attention just enough to pass the exam, and that's it. The thing here with online is how quickly are they changing? Because remember, cybersecurity are dynamics. Now, when you pull them away and try to get them to focus in just for the same hour to focus in and zone in on the area, and the thing here where I kind of always say a collaborative approach because when you do in person and train them, you actually have the opportunity to train them on something that just happened. So before you go live, in fact, when I did many of my training that I would have at my give and I hosted, I did a lot of the stuff that happened within a few seconds. I had to make changes to say
Right.
that this just happened an hour ago.
Right.
This just happened this ago, and craft the questions around the thing that you have, and you put in trick questions as well. You get to interact with the employee because you now can tell if they're understanding what they are saying, and they can ask questions. So when you sit behind a desk, there's no one to ask questions. You don't understand, but you just clicking through, and hopefully you can get through it to
The
just pass
past.
the exam.
And that's another thing too, because like I said, we mentioned AI. I could literally screenshot if I don't know the answers. I can screenshot it and put it inside ChatGPT and be like, "Oh, give me the answer for this," I don't have time.
Yeah.
So I always thought about that. I always thought that, okay, yes, I think it's also too great to have the online, but I'm wondering if in person, because a lot of times when you go in person and you physically show people certain things, they're like eye open, like, wow, like,
Yeah.
does this really happen? Like, there,
I
I think, so I do agree with
to
two,
I
both of
remember
the approaches
I
important.
had did an LMS online platform, and what I noticed from my experience was that when I allowed the users to do the LMS 1 year, I note that when I went back and we did the live, they were the LMS. They said that we actually just click through that and we just write down certain things just because we know the question will come up.
Right,
They said that when we did the live training, we had no choice but to pay attention because number one, they said it was fun. The number two, there was a lot of laugh. It's humorous.
yeah,
There were humorous stuff. The way that it was done, it allowed us to remember a lot of the things. And in fact, some of the persons who were a part of my training, when I see them, they always respond to, I am not a death clicker. I am not a death clicker. No one want to be called a death clicker.
yeah,
So they remember that. And in fact, they went to different organizations and they would use and say that, look, I know that it is this. And they trying to pass information on to other users based on the training. And they didn't speak about the training that we did with LMS. They spoke more about the training that we did in person and live with them and find
right,
ways. And it was interactive. We get them to say, they were able to ask questions, you were able to respond, and they were able to express themselves to say exactly what they experienced, even
right,
personally, and you were able to add to that and give them response as well. So that actually helps. So when you look at which one do I prefer the live interactive training, where it could be virtual via Zoom as well, but it's still interactive. But when you in person and have them looking at you and you are able to show them and interact with them and answer those questions, then I notice that it stick more.
more. Yeah, it does. I feel like for me, I mean, I like both. I like in person. I prefer online when it's teaching, but I like in person and online. And I think in person, particularly when you're teaching something to people that you want them to be aware of, it's really good to do in person and to. I mean, it takes a lot of time because imagine as a cybersecurity professional, I'm not gonna lie, you have a lot of stuff going on.
Right,
So it's like, when do you have time? But you have to make the time out to train your users or your
correct,
employees so that they'll be able to not cost the bank any more money by maybe clicking
right.
just a simple thing as just a malicious link.
I remember a quote where that a CEO and the CFO had a conversation, and it says that the CEO said that we need to train our people, and the CFO went and said that what if we train them and they leave, and the CEO said, but what if we don't train them and they stay?
Yeah,
Which means that the CFO actually was looking at the bottom line, the expense factor that every time we train someone, they leave. But the CEO was saying that if they stay and we do not train them, what impact to the organization, what impact to the business.
yeah,
So we have to really think about, look at training as in a different way. We look at training as an enabler to the organization, to the
right,
business. When we train persons, they are able to do job effectively. They're able to, especially from a cybersecurity perspective, which is something that should be at least annually. We are not saying that go all out and do it on a month-to-month basis, but you should just do month-to-month checks.
right.
But we are saying that at least annually, but not to have it at all. It is really a
Dangerous.
detriment to your organization because it requires one click. One click can cause your business havoc or even shut your business down. So you want to ensure that that one click is not a malicious click, but every one click that your employees would do will be one click to open up a document, to
Right.
be able to serve a customer, to be able to bring funds within the business. But that one wrong click,
That's it.
business, as we say, when they begin to send a rocket up and there's no problem, Houston,
Hmm.
we have a problem.
Problem. Yeah.
So We don't want that kind of things. We want to train our people, so we can't say enough how to train our people.
Right. Definitely. Definitely.
Right. So when we look at this conference make it available. So if you have persons within your organization and you need to know that, I just want them to go out so that they can get the experience and get the feel of the information with cybersecurity. This conference is a good place where you can start. And we have it here locally. We are not talking about where you have to
Exactly.
put them on a flight, you have to send them wherever they have to go, but they're right here local.
Yes, I agree. And as I said, we cannot stress this enough.
Right.
How the local aspect of this is important. We cannot stress this enough because, like I said, we normally see things like I said we're in front of Bahamas, third world country, but we are a
Right.
mighty third world country, and to be able to say that I have a cyber summit home, take that.
Yeah.
Like, you're not ready for us. So definitely, and just to learn. I mean, the amount of wealth. I look at the lineup for the speakers. You read the bios. Go onto the Live Cyber Summit website and read the bios of all the speakers and the panelists.
Yeah. I think we
These are, when I tell you top tier
that's
people. I mean,
from all over the world.
all over the world,
Yep.
and then even specifically from the Bahamas, even to read, because I know you're speaking as well today,
Yes, I am.
and you could tell
I'm
us a
a,
little bit, like a small touch. I mean, can we get a sneak peek of what
well,
you might be speaking about today?
I think my topic is just asking the question and answering the question why organization with good compliance uh,
Compliance,
still
yes.
get breached and all of that. So when we look at from compliance perspective, and we have the different compliance like SOC and we have ISO,
Different frameworks and
all
everything.
of those, and persons believe that now that I am SOC compliant, I am set.
But you're not.
I'm protected.
Right. I think that's another myth too, because a lot of people, people do think that like once I'm, ISO
Right.
and I have this and we're good. The cyber criminals are never gonna attack us. We're good. But no, that's not what it means. At
No,
least
it doesn't mean
you
that.
have things in place to prevent a cyber breach from happening.
Right.
Preventative measures taking
Right.
place. But and I also like how they have with some of these frameworks they deal with the cybersecurity isn't just digital. Let me just add that on there. It's not digital, it's also physical security.
That's correct.
So understanding that, okay, my organization, I think it's also learning. We talk about culture. You have to understand your organizations when you are doing these frameworks because you need to know some things might work in the framework that
Right.
some things might work for you
You and it may
and
be
your
not work for your
organization, it might
organization.
not work for another organization. So knowing that and knowing your network infrastructure, knowing all these things, physical, what happens when you walk in, understanding why your business here, what is the reason for it, and what are you protecting? That's another thing too. Knowing your assets, knowing what you're
That
protecting,
is so
that's
true.
also another thing. Yeah.
And then we also, coming from within the cybersecurity conference, we see one of the speakers highlighting that you need to know your battle. Why will they target us? You need to understand these are questions. How can they impact our vision and missions? And what will they target? So here it is that what is your crown jewel? What is the crown jewel?
And we
Your
just talked
crown
about
jewel,
understanding your assets and knowing what
knowing
you have.
exactly,
Yeah.
understanding their assets, knowing exactly where they are. Your crown jewel is actually your data, and understanding what your data are and all of that, and how you can protect your data.
Right, right.
So we
Definitely.
also has to say where our exposure. We need to understand as an organization where your exposure is and how does the attack surface reflect. So understand your attack surface and all. So we have to be able to. Um, these are things that require planning. You have to have the necessary planning in place and understand exactly to be able to answer all of these questions, to know exactly where, where, how we say what, where, when,
Right
why,
now, yeah.
and why and how. And so being able to access all of these W questions as well. So when you look at your organization and understanding the way forward, what is the way forward for my organization? What are we going to do? How are we going to protect ourselves We're going to do testing, because one of the thing I found during in my years is that testing is is so difficult for persons to do. As simple as testing the backup. You backing up. You get a report to say that, oh, everything is well. But when you ask, have you tested that? Did you test it that restore to ensure that what you back up was the same data? Because when time for restore, we found out that there were tape damage. We found out that when it was time to restore from the cloud, when we thought it would have been an easy restore, it actually took days recovery.
Right.
And when you had a file that you backed up, and when you went to look for the file, you found out that the file wasn't there because the way that it was backed up, because there's several different ways, full backup, you got different levels of backup, and it was not there because someone decided to do either a differential backup or some other backup level of backups that caused the file not to be secure. So when you look at those, testing comes into play in everything. You test your resilience. How do you test know your resilience? By testing. You test to see how quickly can we recover.
Right.
If there is a cyber breach, how quickly can we recover? How quickly we can restore our system back to the workable, functional where we were before the attack happened.
Right.
And
Right.
then that's come with what recovery testing, business continuity testing. Then, if there is an attack or there is an issue to a building, where my people will be, and then here lies again when we try to look at remote work and we take
Yes.
remote work and we look at it as bad, but with not working it in and how we can function that into play. Because here it is that if the building is lost, where would our people go? We're not thinking that through. So
Or if
they
fire
so
happened.
right. Anything happened that they cannot use the building, but here it is. This is an office space that they are sitting in. So where would they go? That means
Right.
that the business will be in kind of a shifting mode back and forth until they can get in. But if you work those things into place, then everyone would know. But you have to test it.
Definitely.
Even if you have to say, okay, fire to the building, make calls, and say no one comes to work, everyone needs to work from wherever, and then you test to see how it is and
Int-
document it.
Interesting. Because, like I said earlier, you mentioned, like, for instance, we say fire. When I was studying and I saw, like, the fires and understanding the drill plans and all that, that comes under cybersecurity too. And I
Yep,
didn't know that because at the time I was like, well, digital, a little bit physical, but I didn't really know. It didn't process in my head until I studied, and I was like, whoa, cybersecurity is much more than just, digital. It's more of a physical thing as well.
that
So,
is so true. It is. It is a physical thing. You have physical security. If persons can get into your
server room,
environment, your
yeah.
server room, just like that, without the necessary protection in place, and they can just walk through. What about when you have vendors? Do you leave vendors inside the server room by themselves to do whatever
Or
they want
even
to do?
online too.
Right. Do you have cameras inside it to watch? Do you have the
IDs.
necessary things to be able to track who goes in and out of it?
And this comes under access control too.
Right. And
So definitely have to know all of those things. Yeah.
so when you look at cybersecurity, it really is a holistic approach. And it is not something that and as one of the speakers said, that is a business enabler. When we see cybersecurity as a business enabler, then we will look at it different. But what we think is that, oh, those guys can stop us from being able to do A. We won't be
Right.
able to do B. We won't be able to do C. But when we think about it as a business enabler, then we will see the shift begin to change as a business. No, they enable our business. They enable us to be able to do business securely. They
Right.
enable us to be able to do business effectively. That's what the cybersecurity does. It assists us in protecting our customer. It assists us in protecting our data. It assists us in protecting our entire business, our
Right.
corporation. So it is a business enabler. It doesn't stop business from happening. It protects and enables business to be able to function properly.
And that's where I want to say, like, cybersecurity professionals, we have to be careful too. because you don't want to, protect, and it's heavy in protection.
Right.
But then like you mentioned, the business are not able to flow or do what they need to do. So definitely have to have the balance. Everything is about balance. We learned that just in
Right.
life in general is about balance, but also in cybersecurity, you also have to have that balance too.
That is so true. You have to have that balance. You don't go too far where you make it difficult for the business not to
Right?
function.
Yeah.
It always talk about the prudent man, where that do what the prudent man would do. So when whatever the prudent man would do, the prudent man would think that, look, I have to ensure to do things where that it doesn't hurt the business, but it actually keep the business moving and help the business to be able to do what they need. So you're
Right.
looking at the prudent man, and that's what we're trying to do, right?
Right. Definitely.
Right.
Definitely.
So we have to think about it. It's a business enabler. It doesn't scare the business, and the business should not look at it. It should be built in, baked in. As we say with cybersecurity, we build, bake it in, and we don't just bolt it on and tack it on. I
Right.
think what it is become an afterthought inside some organization, especially when they implement a new application. As simple as when the conversation started, you should
That's
have
what
a
we.
cybersecurity professional
Yeah.
inside there
From the
so that we
beginning.
can go through from the very initial conversation that you are having. Don't come at the end to find out to say that, oh, well, you all just do what you all have to do.
And then that's it.
And then when we come in and we find all of these loopholes, well, this is not correct. Do you know when you put
Especially,
your data in
yeah.
this was happening? This is not secure. We start poking inside it. So, but they said we already invest all this money inside it, but you gotta do something because we have to go live. We can't change nothing.
And that's the thing. And that's why I say the culture for cybersecurity in the organization is very important because I should be able to, let's say you programming something, I should
Right.
be able to send this to the cybersecurity professional and say that this is what I am doing and here's the business plan for it.
Right.
And please give me your security measures on what to do for these things. But
Right.
I think it's like we mentioned, it's a total awareness of cybersecurity
Right.
and putting in the culture of security into the atmosphere inside your
Right. And
organization.
then there's another thing where we thought about is testing, pen testing. Pen testing is important. It allows the person to be able to see it from the malicious side of it.
Right.
And then there are ways that you can give them where they can do a code review. You doing this from scratch, review the code, see exactly did they take the easy way out just to get it
Right.
up, or
Right.
did it the secure way. And that's why code review is pretty good. You
It
have
is.
different type, whether it can be static, dynamic, that dynamic check it as it functions, whether the static will check it just sitting there and going through a step by step of the code,
Right.
but you want to see how it functions as well. So to have code review is really good to have in place,
Right.
and always test that. And you have to ensure that you bake in again. I like to say bake because it's like when you trying to bake some delicious dessert, you make sure that you have sugar. No one is not going to add certain sugar or the necessary
No.
ingredients in order to bake a delicious dessert that they would like to eat. So if you like eating delicious dessert, then you will think of cybersecurity as a delicious dessert as one of the ingredients that you will bake into your
Right.
organization, and it is not left. So everything that you do within your organization, cybersecurity should be involved. I highly recommend it. To remove it away and bring it in an afterthought, you will
It's
only
not an
set
afterthought.
yourself up for a lot of heartaches,
And you make it
pain.
harder for us. Because now I have to go through and I'm like, well, why wasn't this done at the beginning as a professional? And now you frustrate. No,
Right,
making everybody frustrated
right,
at
and
this point.
because when you negotiate that, what is being said by someone who is maybe selling stuff
Right.
may not be the same as what you see on the technical background from a cybersecurity perspective. They might be saying it could do this, is this, and all of that, but you find out that
Right.
that is not the case. And you find out that it is not a good fit for the organization, and you will find it out ahead of time before you actually spend the money in that, and then later on find out that, look, I have to dispose of this because here it is that I cannot use this, I cannot place my customer data inside this,
Right.
to put our organization at a risk. And we mentioned, as the minister talked about, And I think also Franklin Butler, the CEO of KO Bahamas, mentioned we're talking about reputational risk.
Right.
So we have to manage that reputational risk just like how we manage any other risk within the organization.
Right. And yeah, I totally agree with that. I totally 100% agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you are watching right now, we are tuning in to a live stream of the Cyber Alert podcast, where we are streaming directly from the Alive Cybersecurity Summit. We have a whole host of speakers here who is sharing their expertise in many facets of what they experience, and we just having the conversation. What do we see? What is going on with inside the cybersecurity field? So we are actually just having a conversation.
Right.
And please share and continue to tune in because we will also will have an interviewing time where we interview some of the speakers, and we'll be interviewing many of the persons who are attending the course, so you can hear it from their perspective. You heard our perspective, so we want you to hear it from their perspectives
Right.
and how they are enjoying the conference, and even persons talking about some of the things that what they had presented in the past and what they have done, what they've seen, and what they have seen transforming and changing with inside the cybersecurity field.
Right. Right.
So what we are saying is that just stay tuned. We're gonna take another break, and this break may be we may should be back on either within an hour or two. So just stay tuned and just keep it up and running, and we will be back in a few moments.
Right, and we're back. Welcome back to the Cyber Alert podcast. We are here at the Alive Cybersecurity Summit, and it has been an amazing experience so far. But today, we have a treat for you, and we have two amazing cybersecurity professionals here who are from Kill Bahamas and they deal with cybersecurity. We have Ricardo Knowles and Letitia Sands. Welcome.
Saunders.
Sa-
Ricardo
Saunders, yes,
Saunders.
yes, Saunders. So thank you so much for joining. I am so excited to have you here. Now, I want to ask Letitia a question specifically for you about, we had conversations earlier about governance, risk, and compliance. And I wanted to ask you, what do you find, like, why is governance, risk, and compliance important for you and inside cybersecurity in general?
Well, first and foremost, I feel that the governance, risk, and compliance plays a very critical role in the overall cybersecurity posture of any organization, simply because it ensures that the proper necessary controls are in place, and it also ensures that they align to the overall business objectives of any organization.
Right.
So they set the precedents for the overall, I would say, security of data, people, and the business in general.
Right, right. And I mean, like I said, I've also been intrigued with governance, risk, and compliance. But I just want to add, just throw in one question for you. Um, if you have a small business or anybody, what advice would you give them in that small area to help them to build up their compliance in their company?
I think first and foremost, let's work on some policies. And if we only just start with the overall information security policy, it kind of captures and covers a lot of the core areas that controls should be put in place to ensure that your systems and your data are amply secured, right?
Right.
So once you start there, mapping out your policies and the procedures, from there you're able to better. Oh, and also it's very critical that you also do a risk assessment.
Right.
I think primarily you need to find out what it is that you have within your organization. And when I say what you have, from the data to the systems, you need to know what you need to secure.
Right.
So getting a risk assessment done, that would be the first step
Right.
for me, I think. And then, of course, it can work in tandem with also, like I said, the policies play a role where they kind of tell or set the precedents for establish the controls that should be followed in order to ensure that your data and your
Right.
systems remain safe and secured,
Right.
right?
Right.
And that would protect you from reputational damage,
Financial laws.
financial
Loss,
loss.
yeah.
Yeah, so
That's really good because sometimes I feel like like I mentioned to you earlier. I feel like when I first heard about governance and compliance, I'm like, this is a little bit boring. But then
I agree.
after, honestly, but then after seeing like being a part of it and seeing how it works and all of that, it made me realize how important it is to have these things because you don't want to just be doing things just for doing its sake. You want to make sure that you have some sort of rules and regulations that you follow to help protect yourself. And then Ricardo, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Ricardo Saunders, we have here. Um, I want to know your experience here between last year and also this year, right? I want to know like what is different. How do you feel the vibes in the room? How do individuals feel? I know you guys, both of you were volunteering and working the grounds. And how do you feel everyone is coming inside? Or what is your experience just being here overall?
Right. Well, in comparison to last year, um, this, I guess, the initial concept of the summit was to bring awareness to cybersecurity to the business community at large. So it's really good to see how many working professionals and organizations are represented here today, right? Cybersecurity is one of those things that we often overlook until there's an issue. So the fact that persons are here means that they're proactive in trying to prevent issues before they
Right.
occur. So I appreciate the fact that more businesses are represented, more organizations are here, more individuals from the cybersecurity community are present.
I'm not gonna lie. It's very interesting to see and meet different people and just even the
Definitely.
speakers. Like everyone is just like you can go up to the speakers, you can talk to
Definitely,
them,
yes.
and everything. Okay, so during this,
I'd like to
yes,
add to that too. I'm first and foremost, I am so humbled to be a part of an organization that's bringing this level of awareness,
yes,
Yes.
especially within the Bahamas. I feel like cybersecurity is still in its infancy
Definitely.
within our organizations, right? I feel like people kind of mesh or think of cybersecurity from an IT perspective.
right,
And IT's goal and objective really is to, hey, the business says they need these applications or systems in order to perform whatever. And that's what their focus is. Not saying that they negate security, but their level of
They're kind of tunnel vision.
yeah.
yeah,
Hey, let's get the infrastructure in place as opposed to let's secure the infrastructure.
structure, yeah,
You know,
So seeing the overall growth with more and more people, more and more businesses throughout the country becoming more involved and attending, it's really something to be proud of.
I have to agree because we talked about this earlier. My father and I, when we were on the podcast, we were saying that some things like these you see internationally.
Right.
Like for us who are from the Bahamas and we are third world country, and we sit there. I normally will go on my phone or my computer and be like, okay, well, let's see what conference is going on in the future so I can join. But then to see that I can also attend something that's here and meet not only local but also international. I have to stress with the local because we have a lot of great local talent here in cybersecurity.
Definitely.
I mean, it's just amazing. And the more I meet people, the more I'm realizing, like, oh my gosh, we have a lot of talent here. But it's so good to see that we have even local speakers who are able to go up there and present on certain things. So I thoroughly enjoyed it, really, really enjoying it.
Yeah.
But my next question, what are both of you guys, what are your biggest takeaways that you want to see from here when you leave?
You can take that.
um, for me, I want people to understand because my focus in cybersecurity is awareness and managing human risk.
Right.
I would like to see people understand that cybersecurity is just as much psychological as it is technological.
Right.
Most of the attacks prey on emotions, get people to act out of a certain feeling, right? Let me bait you into doing a particular thing,
Right.
as opposed to, oh, I'm actually sitting behind a computer and crunching codes trying to hack into a system. No, we hack into humans first
Yes.
and then allow the humans to make the mistake, right? So I would like, I guess, the general populace to understand that, hey, this is just as much a psychological game as it is a technological game.
And we are the first line of defense
Yes,
or
we
the first
are.
line of fault.
Yes.
We
So-
are. You know what's crazy too? We just literally speak about that earlier about how we talk about cyber psychology. I know a lot of people. That's actually a major you can take.
Yes.
And I was like, you know, I'm also interested in that too, like
Yes.
cyber psychology. Just understanding. I realized that when you work, sometimes you have to think like a hacker. So
Exactly.
you have to be like, if I was
Exactly.
a hacker, what would I do next? What would be my next step? If something was to happen, we see like, oh my gosh, okay, a password has been leaked, or we
Right.
see what would be the next step for that hacker to do? Would they
Right.
take the password and then try to log in and stuff like that? So you really have to, when you're in this field, you really have to think about what would the bad guys do
Right.
in the
Definitely.
process.
Exactly.
Definitely.
So it's just interesting how it's the same story that we all are saying. You know, be aware. Humans, we have to be able to understand that we're the first line of defense, like you say, and we just gonna have to work on it and understand and teach people, even the public.
Education is key. For
Right.
Sure.
I have my last question is there any educational things that you're doing in the public to help teach the public about cybersecurity?
PSAs go a long way. PSAs go a long way. I'd mentioned a few weeks, well, maybe a week or two back on a video that I recorded, how we are often our greatest risk,
Right.
and that's because we're uninformed, right? An informed individual is a safe and a cautious individual.
Right.
Correct.
PSAs, little bite-sized PSAs, public service announcements, can go a very long way.
Right.
As simple as that sounds, it's very effective.
You know, I wouldn't think it was affected, you know, because, you know, for me as a cybersecurity professional, I see it, I'm like, okay, yeah, you know, but it's still good at the
Right.
same time, because even for us, when we get those notifications, we know, okay, does this affect us? What do
Right.
we do? How do we
You
protect
know what
ourselves?
also works? Scare tactics.
You know what? I love this.
Scare tactics work.
love this.
Sometimes you have to threaten people, hey, this is the worst case scenario. This
Yeah.
could happen if you don't do this.
I was even
You know?
talking to somebody. I was like, when we're doing these phishing like campaigns and stuff like that, you really gotta think like a hacker for real. Sometimes these hackers they don't care. They're probably on your emotions. Like we say, human psychology. So you talk about, you know, when there's a hurricane, they use hurricane relief things to try and get people information. You know, when something serious happened in the world,
They play on your emotions, right?
exactly. And so now I'm like, when we're doing it, we have to really think about like, okay, I mean, it's sad, but
We have to
do
be
it.
mindful what we share now too.
Right.
Like we live in this stratosphere where social media is, I think, everything, right? And unfortunately, the innocence of us, we share our little events we're attending or some achievement, or even some people share their location.
And that's the next thing too.
But the bad guys, they are online, they are scoping out, they are gathering intel, because all of those things can lead to, you know, you
Right.
being hacked eventually. So we just have to be more mindful and cautious of what we share. And don't share too much. I think there is a thing of
Oversharing.
oversharing.
Sharing, yeah.
What
Right.
I would add to that too is question everything.
Yes.
Everything. Deep fakes, voiceovers,
Yeah.
we're cloning images and, you know, face swaps. Question everything.
Right.
You know, because AI is becoming
Oh.
our best friend.
Honestly.
Listen.
You can fake a voice, you can fake a video, you can fake a face. Question everything.
Right.
That's I guess one of the best advice that I could give.
And
Be
la-
suspicious of everything.
And lastly, if in doubt, report it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
For me, I that fish button that we
Yes.
click,
Honestly.
yeah, just report it. You know, it's better to be safe than sorry.
Right. Definitely. I mean, you guys kind of summed up everything and everything we even talked about before, but in a better way. So
Right.
I want to thank you so much for joining us on the podcast, and we'll have you on more often. I think
Sounds good.
it's about awareness, right?
Yes,
It
it
is,
is.
it is.
And
we really
it's
wanna bring
everybody's
awareness.
business.
Yes.
And it's outside of work.
Right.
Right? Cybersecurity doesn't stop when you
When you
leave
clock
the
out.
office and you clock
Right.
out, right? You have to teach your kids, your parents.
Yes.
Because they're a vulnerable target as well. It's everybody's business, and we just all need to do our part to ensure that we share the PSAs,
Right.
and we share the knowledge,
Right.
so everyone can remain aware and be on alert.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you so much. And to our viewers, thank you so much for watching. We'll be back and we'll have another interviewee on as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
All right.
Well, welcome back to our audience at home. Today we have an amazing person with us that we're interviewing, and it's Michelle Drolet. And she is the founder and CEO of Tower Wall. Michelle, thank you so much for being here.
I'm so excited to
I
be
know.
here.
I'm also excited too. First, I want to start off. Tell me about your experience just being here and just like this conference overall.
So you asked me two questions.
Yes.
One is how I feel like being here. I feel like I'm home because I've been coming down to this island since 1999
Wow.
and doing business here in Nassau for a long time. So I have family here.
Wow.
And to be part of this conference is absolutely amazing because when we started coming down, there were no information security or cyber professionals. And to see this room full of people and the students and all this stuff, it's just really exciting.
I think it has grown, just like you said, tremendously. Like for me, I just graduated last year, and now I'm in the field in cybersecurity. So yes, I think it has grown, and I'm trying to encourage more like students, to come back home and to try and to grow because you can really grow in this field, and it's ever changing. It's very evolving. But I do want to have a question for you when we talk about businesses, and I want to talk about your cyber fortress. One question I wanted to ask is that what are the most overlooked foundational defenses that people probably might just say that, okay, it's not necessary, I don't really need? Would you think it's really important that we should really have in our either businesses, whether they're small or large businesses, whatever?
So I was asked a question being interviewed a couple weeks ago, and they said, when does somebody need to pay attention to cybersecurity? And I said, as soon as you open your door, as soon as you open your business. So it doesn't matter how small or how big you are, it doesn't matter. But the biggest thing is that organizations have strategies to build their business. You need to have a strategy from your cyber perspective as well. So building a cyber program on rock, as they say,
Yes.
right? And having it aligned so things are measurable, things are repeatable, and we're not firefighting, but we're helping groom and grow the organization from a cyber perspective.
Right.
And that's going to lock the doors and keep the windows locked so that the bad guys will go to the next door or
Right.
next house, so to speak.
Right, right. And I'm glad you mentioned even with locking doors and everything, because earlier we were talking about physical security. Now, when I first learned about the theory part of cybersecurity, and I found out that cybersecurity is fast, so we I was thinking more digitally and not like physical security, having to lock the doors and really like when you go to a server room, maybe using your IDs and stuff like that. Can you tell me a little bit more on, or let the audience know as well, why physical security is important and why it counts as cybersecurity as well?
Sure. So there's a couple different plays that you can talk about here. So there's the computer room, like you said, the key cards to get into the office. But then when I say lock the doors, it's the firewalls, it's the antivirus, it's all the
Right.
different things. And then it also is the social engineering aspect. So we actually were hired by an organization that had armed guards at their doors to see if we could get in and to test their perimeters. And my guy actually got in. He went into the cafeteria and talked to people. Then he went up into the C-suite and ended up in the CFO's office.
Wow.
And he said, okay, game over. So checking, the physical inside your organization, then testing it, and then making sure that your strategy from a cyber perspective with all the different technologies, but the program as well is really important.
Well, listen, I've heard stories about that. When you hear like read different books, like my favorite is Kevin Mitnick. His books are amazing. Love it. Ghost in
Yes.
the Wires is my favorite one.
Yes.
But my thing is that I've never physically seen that happen. To hear you say that you can just by physically walking inside a company, and sometimes people don't have security booths at the beginning of their office, so when you walk in it's just like game over. You can really get in, so that's also really important. But I want to talk about AI.
Ah.
I feel like AI is like, oh, it's a whole another thing that people are always talking about. It's very, um, it's a new thing, right? And
It's
all
not. It's been around since
you're right.
1954,
You're right.
56, 54.
You're right. It is. But the thing is, right? I always tell people the same thing too. But for some reason, because it's a new buzzword. That's the word I wanted to define. It's a new buzzword, and so now everyone thinks like it's kind of new and everything like that. And you are right. My question for you is: how does AI strengthen or weaken your cyber fortress?
It strengthens and weakens, right? So if we can use it for good, it really helps us stay ahead of the bad actors and the bad guys, right? But the bad actors now have, they have the dark web. You just went to school, so you
Right.
understand
Yeah.
what the dark web is. The dark web, you know, somebody can actually rent ransomware. Ransomware is a service. They can hire and rent a list, and then they can rent somebody to actually run it,
Right.
right? So now before, with different like phishing and smishing and vishing type things, there were a lot of typos and stuff like that. With AI, they can create these beautiful messages, right? To do that phishing, so somebody will click because there's no more typos and there's not high M or something like
Right.
that, right?
Right.
So there's that component, but there's also the component where the different technology stacks are implementing or have implemented AI to do that threat modeling and the threat lockdown. So it makes it a tougher fortress
Right.
for organizations to use, but they need to really pay attention. One of the things that we're doing a lot right now from a service perspective is helping our customers build out acceptable use AI policies. And so putting what we call guardrails on like the not free chat GPT, but the paid for
Right.
chat GPT, which is difficult because the guardrails are difficult. But Copilot, if you set it up right, it can only ingest certain information. If you set it up wrong, it's going to ingest your whole SharePoint infrastructure,
Yes.
which is terrifying.
So, would you advise companies to build their own AI agent in their company, or would you suggest them, like, just be careful on what you put onto like things like ChatGPT?
So I think going back to the policy,
Right.
so what is acceptable use? So organizations should have acceptable use. Can you read the newspaper? Can you go to pornography? Or can you go, do whatever it is? It needs to be the same way with AI and the LLMs. And so, having that, and then doing that user awareness training,
Yeah.
so people understand what's acceptable and what they can put in. And then that kind of goes around full circle. So do the organizations actually have a data classification program
Right.
so that they know what's really important information? So that needs to tie all in together.
Right. Wow.
I don't know if I answered your
Yes,
question.
you did. You did answer my question, and thank you so much. I just me sitting here, like it's the same things, but it's a good reminder, and also I've learned so much, and I hope our audience also learned so much from you about like cyber fortress and protecting your company and how simple it is to just as simple as like I said, physical security, you can literally walk in as the example. And now I'm like, maybe we do, have to be a little careful more when it comes to our physical security and everything. So I just want to thank you for being on the podcast. And to our audience, we'll be taking another break and hopefully interviewing more individuals as well. So thank you so much for listening and stay tuned.
Thank you.
Good afternoon and welcome back to the Cyberlight Podcast. And with us, we have a very special guest. If you just tuned in for the first time, my name is Shervin Evans, and with me is my co-host, Alea, aka Cybergirl. We call her Cybergirl. So, Cybergirl, this is a special time for us, and I am honored. This is a privilege to have Dr. Bright. Dr. Bright, I don't want to mess up the last name. How is it pronounced? Can you ever?
It's Dr. Bright Gameli Maudo.
Dr. Bright Kameli Maldo. It's great.
Maldo.
Maldo.
Yes.
It's great to have you here with
you.
us on the Cyberlight Podcast. And we note that you had a the presentation was wow. And we get to see you inside a different arena because usually you're moving back and forth. You're not stationary to.
I know.
So I think it's always due. You mentioned about let's see, ransomware is evolving. The modern ransomware doesn't lock your file; it steals your data first and target your backups. Are you able to share a little bit more about your presentation in that area with regards to the ransomware and what you have seen from your experience?
Sure. So the thing is, ransomware back in the day, the people try to lock your files and then they tell you if you don't pay X amount of Bitcoin, we can get it back.
Right.
It's changing. These days, they steal your file and threaten you that we're going to release your files on the dark web or the deep web or even the surface web these days if you don't pay for it. But you know what? These days, they delete your backup, steal your files, and then tell you to pay. At that point, you don't have a backup. You don't know how you're going to get your files back, and it puts us at a point where you need to basically find a way of getting to run your business and get your business running. And you know, ransomware doesn't happen in a day. That's a misconception that people just log in and then they run commands and all of a sudden take over your systems. No, they wait. They take time. They wait. They understand your system. They understand your assets. They go to scan properly. They silently stay in your network for about a week or two before they actually act. So that is the kind of ways they are doing right now, and they're becoming sophisticated. And sometimes they take advantage of very simple things to be able to actually infiltrate your network and systems here.
Wow, and that is so true. We also have experienced that as well, and with ransomware, and we had organization locally who has experienced ransomware attack, and it was because of some user. You know, we always have the human element in the middle of all of that,
Yeah.
All the time.
and we have seen a lot of that have happened in the past. But we also note that you mentioned AI and the double-edged sword, because why this is so significant for us, because I wrote a paper, an article on AI being the double-edged sword.
Yeah.
And from your experience, which way that you see AI have been incorporated in cyber attack, and from what you've seen out there, tell us.
I mean, back in the day, it would take me a week and a half to write a particular malware to do certain things.
Right.
And a malware, not even a sophisticated malware, a malware that is basically just going to do the bare minimum
Right.
using tools that are on your computer already. These days, I do that in less than a minute because I'm only giving it instructions of exactly what it should be able to do and give me the result.
Right.
So AI being able to play a very big role in determining how people work faster and be able to run tools is what is alarming.
Right.
Getting to write the tools is not a hard thing anymore. It's actually working on existing tools that already exist. You know, so if you say, I'm going to scan a network, but if you're scanning the network and the packet is dropping at A, B, C, D point, make sure you switch to a different flag. Normally, a human being will do that. It will take them an hour, or they have to sit there and watch everything happen. But now you can use AI to write a tool to be able to do that faster and better. So I see it being a very interesting tool for even we defenders to be able to make sure that we're testing the same adversary tactics that the tactics, the procedures, and the tactics, techniques, and procedures that adversaries are going to use. We need to understand how to use AI in doing what they're supposed to do.
That's
We've seen in the news, nation-state attacks are happening. Completely, 90% has been done using AI tools, and not AI tools that are hidden. AI tools that we use every day.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
with Claude and the like. So what's going to stop an adversary of being able to write better tools? I did a research recently where we tried to see how can we use AI to do faster exploitation of systems. So I'll give a typical example. Let's take a country, scan for every firewall of a particular name. Let's not put any particular vendor. Let's say vendor this, and find all the CVEs, which is common vulnerability exposure names of all those vendors, and tell me how vulnerable they are. Tell me, rank for me which one is the most likely to be able to be exploited, and run this tool to exploit them. It took less than 5 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So AI is the game changer
Yeah, it took
inside
5 minutes.
cybersecurity defense.
We wrote that tool, it took
Wow.
5 minutes.
Wow.
What would have taken me days,
Right.
hours, not days to do that. 5 minutes.
Wow. And we're seeing the malicious actors actually employing, they're using AI.
Oh, they are.
It's like,
Heavily,
yeah.
they're using it. The thing is, how fast are we adapting to that?
Yes.
I was just gonna ask the question too because my thing is that especially over here in the Bahamas, we always people is a like a lot of people have this thing where they're afraid of AI and it's gonna take over and it's gonna you ever watch TV where the robots come and all of that and
Yeah.
try to kill all of humankind. So my question I want to ask is that for individuals who are afraid or for companies who say that no, I do not want to use AI at all, what do you have to say to them on that?
People need to understand the different uses of AI and what is public, what is private, and if it's free, you're the product, obviously. So if you are going to use a public version of an AI tool, know the limitation also what you can do. I have a whole presentation on AI, which I talk about sometime, but also the thing is, what are you using the AI for? Are you using it to analyze documents? Are you using it to analyze code? And what kind of code is it? Is it a proprietary tool to yourself? Is it private? Are you having any secret in it? Can you redact information? Because sometimes people put in confidential details or confidential code and they forget that they're sharing that with the world, right? So understanding why you need AI should be the first step before you even start to use AI. Or to say, I need to use Copilot, I'm going to use Claude, I'm going to use Gemini, or I'm going to use Perplexity, or I'm going to use ChatGPT, Atlas, or and the likes, right? Or Claude, the Claude AI that people like everybody's just installing anyhow. But if it's work, if it's code you're going to write to do a program inside in an organization and it's for a client, you can't put the ideas of what the client is giving you in the code.
Yes.
In the AI tool. No, you can't. It's just highly, not just illegal, but it's wrong to do that.
Yeah.
So we need to be able to understand, ask the first question, why am I using AI?
Right.
What am I going to get? What's the output that I want to get? And which AI tool do I have to use? I would rather pay for Claude AI to be able to run a particular code for me than trying to use the free version.
That is so
Or locally download it.
Yeah.
To my computer.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
And I want to shift here because I know you're doing a lot of big things back home inside your country.
Yeah.
And I've seen the Afroton, and I am a big fan of it.
Yeah.
And see the teaching that you are bringing up with young people. And I think that's what drew me to it. So can you give us a little background of
man.
Afroton?
Africa Hackon has been happening for 13, 14 plus years right now.
Yeah.
And that started just because of an interest, a shared interest of being able to teach young people to become cybersecurity engineers. And recently, I gave myself a challenge. Anybody can learn cybersecurity so far as they put their mind to it.
Right.
So I went to the slums, deep rooted in the slums, and I saw 13, 14-year-old kids. So the youngest was 12-year-old. The oldest was, I think, 17. And I said, I'm going to teach you how to use Linux. You know, we taught them Linux in 3 hours.
Wow.
Wow.
3 hours.
Wow.
And they were typing commands. They're like, oh, now we understand how this works. We know how Windows works. It's good to actually type
Wow.
commands in Linux and see the same thing happen on a desktop. Africa Hackon, I just literally left the meeting. We launched the cohort 5 a few minutes ago. We have 112 students
Wow.
who have joined the class, and they're going to be learning cybersecurity for the next 6 months. And as I speak to you right now, cohort 4 is having a class going on, learning
Wow.
how to do malware defenses and evasion and threat intelligence. And you see, and that is because of knowledge I'm getting from everybody who's able to teach. So there's not one person teaching. There's
Right.
always at least 2 or 3 people teaching the class. And trying to do that and also teach the community some of the tools that are out there, skill sets. We can only become better defenders in the country if we share knowledge.
That's so true.
That's where my philosophy comes in. So I've done a lot of free conversations, free trainings, and the kind of people who are coming out all came because of that, giving back to the community. If I hadn't done that 13 years ago until now, I don't think I'll be even having trainers to teach people. And now we have people coming from all over the world, from the Scandinavian part of the world. We have people from US right now, from Fiji. I know Fiji of all
Fiji,
places.
all places.
How is
Yes.
somebody from Fiji joining our class? From Congo, Ghana, Nigeria, Tanzania, South Africa, UK, Seychelles joined this morning. I saw somebody from Seychelles. I'm like,
Wow.
what?
Wow.
And that's how so my aim is, how do we nurture the next cyber talent across all continents? That's the big aim. One thing we're doing, which very soon I should be able to introduce to the Bahamas, I think also, is how do we get some of these courses
Yes.
to you at a very affordable rate. Affordable in the sense of it should be a little bit different. Want to give courses, details, but also do a lot of hand holding a little bit
Yes.
to make sure people are not just watching a video on demand and thinking they're going to get a cybersecurity expertise. Yeah.
Yeah, because I had to learn because I just graduated last year and I had to learn the same thing too, where theory and practical is two different things.
Very
So what you read or what you study, when it's time to go in practically, I was like, what? Like, what's how you do it? I remember last year I went to a kind of like a capture flag with my university.
Yeah.
And when I went, I was like, oh yes, I'm a hacker, I could do different things ethically, of course. But
Yeah.
I was able to go in and I was like, Daddy, we're going in. We're gonna do this, we're gonna come out on top. When we start, I was like, what? Mind you, I did cybersecurity courses, like actual ethical hacking in my university.
Yeah.
But when I was thrown into like an environment where I had to figure it out, I was like, oh, this is different.
Which is something I'm curious about the Bahamas. I really want to go to university, even the short time that I'm
Right.
around. Just one.
Yes.
Just to see. So I don't know if you can do an introduction to see
Right.
how did they take cybersecurity in some of the classes. So the Capture the Flag challenges, we actually set up one at Africa Hackon. The platform has been built. It's actually built. It's almost just been launched. And we'll be able to see how to get challengers from the Bahamas.
Right.
I think that will be
I think that'd be
amazing.
fantastic.
We did
Yes.
one about 2 months ago, and we had about 3,000 people who joined in from across the world.
Wow.
3,000.
So
Wow.
is it where they have to fly in,
No,
or they just do it online?
You form your teams online,
Right.
you joined online, but I wanted people to learn from the platform.
Yes.
So have a path, see the challenges, get walkthroughs that have been written by other people, try it out. That's how
Right.
I practice. I used to do hack the boss, before hack the boss,
Yes,
try hack me.
Yes.
Before they came up,
Yeah.
we used to have something called ValHub.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of booty roots, and I did all of them. I used to do them daily. But you
Yeah.
see, there was nobody guiding me. We want to have something a little bit different to be able to make people
Right.
learn a better way.
So practice cybersecurity basis, you have to practice all the time. So my question is, how much do you practice even now? Like, are you often?
Oh man! Even though people think I'm more of a business person right
Yeah.
now, but guess what? I type commands every day. I have a laptop. This laptop is my Mac. I have another machine purely for cybersecurity.
Right.
Because I want to learn something new. I want to know how. For example, one of the demos that I want to do tomorrow is how can I count the number of people in this place with one command?
Oh wow.
Do you know why? Your Bluetooth device.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct. In fact, that was something in one of our episodes we did. We mentioned that how dangerous the Bluetooth devices
Oh,
were.
it's very easy. I
Yeah.
have a tool here. If I run that command right now, I can count the number of people who are around here.
Let me turn off my Bluetooth,
And,
guys.
and then I also remember the last time when you were on the screen last year,
Yeah.
which was a fantastic presentation. I really enjoyed that presentation. And you mentioned that if I was in the Bahamas, I would set up something and have everyone logging into it.
I'm going to do that
What?
tomorrow.
Listen,
I really want to do that
Free
tomorrow.
internet.
I'm going to see how that will.
now,
Yeah.
I think it's gonna work because I haven't tried it, but like when you working and stuff like that, you try it. And I think the issue is that, in the Bahamas, people like free and internet. So when you
Oh,
go on and you say, okay, well, Starbucks Wi-Fi or, whatever
everybody just
Wi-Fi,
joins.
everybody's gonna join. And so now I'm actually conscious of, for me, when I'm joining free Wi-Fi, I just end up buying like data and I try to stay away from that at
Now,
all.
question for you: how many people think like that?
I don't know a lot of people,
No.
and I think the only reason why I think like that is because I'm in cybersecurity,
Yeah.
so I'm very cautious of like what I'm doing, and this could happen if I do this.
Yeah.
But not an
Not a
average
lot of
person,
people.
they're not going to think like that.
It's why I feel like one thing I like to do is to empower people to share more knowledge
Yeah.
about this. I do a series of videos on my Instagram and TikTok, just sharing basics of how to be secure. Some people hate it, saying, "Oh, this is too basic," and I say,
Yeah.
"But you see, you're not
Right.
my audience. I'm
Correct.
this is for the average person who gets
Right.
to see it."
Right.
So. I say we need to do a lot of more awareness.
Yeah.
We need to have this more conversations. We need to show people exactly how it works. I came with
Right.
all my gadgets, and I said tomorrow I'm just going to be randomly doing whatever I have to do and see how
Right.
we can learn a lot more.
And for us, we're looking forward to that. We both will be there
Yes.
to participate and be involved inside it, because once you get to the point where you can learn more and learning from others, and that's why I
Yeah.
like these forums. These forums allows you to be able to learn from other persons, hear what's going on out there in the world, because the cyber ecosystem is large, and being able to understand more as much as we can, and be able to see exactly, okay, we see this happen inside, like what's in your country. How can we replicate the same thing? Partnership. Partner with you so that we are able to replicate the same thing, and all of that we
I'm
put in a dent.
excited. I'm looking for more partnership in the Bahamas than anything, because I don't think we have a lot of conversations from the African
Yes.
continent to the Bahamas, the Caribbean part of things. So anything that we can do to partner and share what experiences from here and bring it to this side and to the
Yeah.
other side, I'll be happy to.
Yes, thank you so much. And I know it's lunchtime. We'll make
Yeah.
sure that you get something to eat. So, to our listening audience, we have Dr. Bright was on, and he was one of the speakers at the Alive Cybersecurity Conference. And we will be back again at 1 o'clock. Just tune in.
Awesome.
Well, welcome back to our viewers. We had a little bit of break, a little bit of food. Hopefully, no one, feels like they have to fall asleep and everything. But we have here with us another interviewee that we want to interview, and it's Shakira Johnson. Now, you guys know that she was here a little bit earlier in our earlier episodes when we started recording. We were talking about just cybersecurity awareness during Cybersecurity Awareness Month.
Yes.
And we are happy to be back here at a live
And
conference.
let's just give our viewers a little
Yes.
background, because she
Yes,
is
definitely.
the Director of Information Security at Cable Bahamas.
Yes.
Yes.
She has been a leader at Atlantis, where we having this special
Yes.
occasions. She was, and now she is a leader at Cable Bahamas. She is a powerhouse on stage.
Oh yes,
Thank
a
you.
powerhouse.
She's
yes.
the powerhouse on stage, and we just happy to have her here, just to have a conversation.
And have her hair again, definitely. So Shakira, I want to start off. This event is huge. We talked about this on the podcast earlier today. We said that for our actual summit to happen here in the Bahamas, cybersecurity at best. I told him this is the conference to be at.
It certainly is.
Out of all the conference seasons we've been going through this year, this is the conference to be at. So I want to hear your perspective as someone who was a part of the planning process and everything. Tell us a little bit more about that, and what was your idea, or you guys' idea, when it came to this whole summit?
Yeah. So as an organization, first of all, thank you both for having me again.
Yes.
I absolutely love your podcast. And so where this idea came from was our CEO, let's say 2 years ago, right? So he had the idea, maybe he just threw it out there. We should try having a cybersecurity conference. And once he put it out there in the atmosphere, myself and the other organizers, we just took it and ran with it. And but at its foundation, cybersecurity is a function that is very important and respected within our organization. And we have ventured to do our part to raise the profile of cybersecurity, not only in our industry, but in the Bahamas, right? And in the region. So this was a no-brainer for us. We wanted to provide a forum where individuals, organizations, executives, varying industries would have a platform to come and listen to experts that can share and pour into them what cybersecurity best practices look like from so many different levels and angles. And so this was a continuation of that effort. And this year we've certainly expanded, as you know, we have 2 days of conference, and we're looking to do that every single time we do it. We want to engage the audience. We want people to be excited about the subject matter. We want people to leave here more educated, more empowered, just with tools, whether it's something that they can implement on day one or something that they have to devise a roadmap for. But we want to continue that conversation, provide that platform, invite persons from the region, international, to come and just contribute to what cybersecurity should look like here in the Bahamas.
Right. I love that. Love that. My next question is because I remember you and also the director of CERT BS, right? You guys went to different, like some Bahamas and Sunrise, to speak about the whole thing about the Alive Cyber Summit. Now, one thing I loved about it was the workshop, and I'm excited, and we're both of us, we're excited
Yes.
to be a part of the workshop because I mentioned this before in the podcast throughout the day that it's one thing to see theory about like cybersecurity, but when
Yes.
you start working and see the practical side of it, it's kind of different. So I want to get a perspective on, like you mentioned before, I want to let you to tell our audience why the workshop and why is it so important and what caused you guys to like implement the workshop.
Yes. So last year we just brainstormed and thought about ways we can improve and build, like I said. Of course, that was a day full of plenary sessions, a lot of theory. But we said, what was missing? What would our audience or the persons who are even just interested in cybersecurity, what more can we give them? So the day two again was a no-brainer. The workshops, how can we allow them to be more engaged? How can they get more hands-on experience? And that delivery was the workshop day. And it is a shortened day. There's only about 4 sessions. So we wanted that to be as a more impactful day.
Right.
And that's why the workshop was added as a part of the lineup.
And one thing I must say that this summit is spectacular.
Thank you.
Amazing.
I am
Thank you.
enjoying it from the beginning to the end. Some of the speakers so far was just impactful.
I know. I
And
know.
it is more what we look at. I said this is really an educational session.
Yes.
That you going into the educational session where you go to get that theory and then you take the practical to tomorrow's lesson and you see how it goes into work and you play it and all of that. My question is that I know that it's difficult to put on this kind of summit as cybersecurity. And I can imagine the being pulled here, pulled there, pulled everywhere. And first of all, we want to thank you for inviting us to be a part of the
Yes.
summit. We
Of
truly,
course.
truly
Of
appreciate it. And because what I've seen in the summit that I loved is that a lot of local professionals inside us. So I want to know, what was when you brainstormed did you started out saying that I want all of these local professionals in the middle of it?
Yes, absolutely, because that was our target, right? A lot of our industry practitioners don't have that exposure. Not everyone have the opportunity to travel, right? And I am somebody who has traveled to conferences all around, and I wanted to bring that back home. I wanted to bring, just as even the addition of the podcast. I've been to several conferences globally, and you provided the platform. We just, brought
Right.
brought you to further amplify what we were trying to do. So it's full alignment, right? What your podcast attempt to do, spread the message,
Yeah.
spread it even further, really educate the Bahamian people. And again, so this was a perfect platform for you. Why we want to ensure that local businesses get that awareness, right? Because again, I think culturally we believe cyber attacks will skip us
Right.
because we're
Yes.
so small. We're tucked away, between
Yes.
the Americas. We're
Right.
tucked
Yes.
away, so the cyber criminals don't have any concern or care for
Right.
us. But that's far from the truth. As we can see, our critical infrastructure are constantly being targeted
Right.
and increasingly being in the news for
Yes.
cyber attacks. So those are the individuals, those are the organizations that needs to hear this, that needs to know what they can do to strengthen their cybersecurity posture.
That is great because we know. I think it always hear that cybersecurity it affects everyone, and it should be
Exactly.
everyone business from
Yes.
the CEO, the board of directors, all the way down to the person who sweep the floor.
Exactly.
It is
Yes.
important for all of us to be able because no matter what the user has to have access to the data in order to do so when they have access to the data, how do you try to put in the protective measure or educate them to know that you cannot do this, you should not do this, and education is the key.
Yes.
And I see that what you're doing from this whole the part from the summit is strictly education.
Yes.
It was an educational session
Spot
from the
on.
beginning. And what I heard is just a key theme straight across, which is the theme of the summit: resilience.
Yes, digital resilience.
Digital
Yeah.
resilience, even from Franklin when Franklin Butler spoke,
Mm-hmm.
digital resilience, and then the Honorable Michael Akitas came in. Digital
Digital
resilience is
resilience,
almost
yes.
like they were looking at
Yeah.
each other
Yes.
speeches and say, well, let's put this inside and work. And when you hear the next speaker came on, digital resilience is so
Exactly.
we just
exactly.
thank you for thinking about that
Yes.
and bringing that whole thing together, you and your team. And trust me, this is a fantastic. I've had an opportunity to travel to different conferences as well. And I am saying this is up there. You
Yes,
guys did
thank
a
you.
fantastic job. And even that timing, all of the stuff is really, really good.
Yes, thank
Leah, I
you.
think you have one final question.
Well, my final question is basically, what do you want? Like, what do you feel like you take away from everything that has happened here? I know it's different from when you're organizing it, so you feel like you cannot really take away anything, and there's so much stuff going on.
Yes.
So, really sit down and really think and try to summarize everything that
Yes.
you. What do you think that you've
So you
gotten
are
so far?
absolutely correct. My perspective is different. I'm not here as an attendee, but what I do glean is that our business community are hungry for information. They're hungry for the education around cybersecurity. And you would look at the growth in our attendance just from last year to
Yeah.
this year, and that tells a story in itself. So as I'm walking about, I'm just thinking, okay, what can we do better next year? How can we make this experience better for our attendees next year? So I'm also enjoying the conversations because this is what I love. This is the passion. So
Right.
I'm always excited to hear about cybersecurity, but to really be a driver and somebody that would have my hand in expanding the conversation
Right.
for our nation, like that just is so rewarding for me. So from that perspective, that's what I'm getting from
Yes.
it. I'm getting the reward of seeing individuals learn more. You and your podcast being on this platform, on this stage. So that's what I'm getting out of it, the reward.
Yes, and we want to thank you so much for taking time out. I know, like I said, it's a lot going on here. You have
Yes.
to be here
To see
for
it
the
and
experience.
feel it, the energy,
Exactly.
all
Like
of
we're
it.
we're not just
Yes.
talking about it, just like okay, well, it's fun, and that's it. We're really saying that you have to be here.
Yes.
So thank you so much for being a part of the podcast again, and we look forward to seeing more conferences, more things that Alive is doing here in the Bahamas about cybersecurity.
Thank you, and thank you for
Thank
having
you
me again.
so much. Appreciate it.
All
And
right.
thank you for having us to be a part
Yes,
of this
definitely.
this event. We are excited to be here.
Yeah, and I
So-
congratulate you for pioneering this platform. As I said when I was on before, this is something that we don't have too many persons are doing. So this is going to encourage more and more persons to share the conversation, join in the conversation with you and your team, this dynamic duo, cyber dynamic duo. So again, thank you as we close.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you.
And to our listeners, thank you so much for listening to this interview. We have more coming up, so stay tuned and we'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Cyber Alert podcast, where we streaming live from the Live Cybersecurity Conference. And we are here with one of our interviewees, Samitra McKinney, Director of CERT BS. Now, when we heard CERT BS was mentioned inside the Minister Al-Qaeda's speech. So here it is that we now have the director, the lady herself who has built that environment from the ground up. And in fact, let me give you a little background too. She also was the one who built it from the build the same at I think it was the central bank as well.
That is correct.
So she started building for the central bank, and then she went and built something bigger. So Mitchell McKinney, it's great to have you. Welcome to the Cyberloid podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
We excited to have you. In fact, we need to have you for an entire show.
Please invite
So-
me. Invite me.
A few moments ago, you had a fantastic speech, and you talked about something that is actually dear to me, which is child online protection is not separated from everyday life. It's embedded in how we parent, and that is something that we always talk about. So tell me, when you think about from a parenting perspective, do you feel that parents are actually monitoring their children in the way that they think that they should monitor?
I think they desire to monitor their children. I think the intent is certainly there. I think what's missing is the education. This is the first time that this generation of parents are parenting these digital natives. And so therefore, it's important that we, as parents and as those who are engaged with children on a daily basis, have the level of education in order for us to do the monitoring, the education that we need to children. So the intent is there. Parents want to protect their children. This is just a new environment that they have to get used to. And there is the gap.
Yeah, that is so true, because I remember when my daughters, they were upset with me when they asked for a cell phone, and I said that when you turn 16, they asked for a social media account. I said, when you turn 16, and the first person you will add to your social media account is your mom and myself, and you will not remove us. You will not open up a new one for you and your friends. If not, we will totally shut it all down. And today, we are still part of their friend group because we try to educate them to do things right. Now, when we look at here in our country, do you see that the parents actually, their knowledge base with regards to cybersecurity and what is happening or what their children are seeing on these devices?
I think there's a gap when it comes to education awareness. I think there's a gap in general, so at every level. So there's a gap at the policy makers level. There's a gap at the corporate and industry level, so businesses aren't aware, even though that they're offering these services to children. And then there's a gap in the community, in families, where there's lack of awareness. But this awareness isn't just about how to protect children online and the safety of children online. This gap is about cybersecurity in general. How do you protect yourself? So it's hard for parents to be great mentor of cybersecurity education to their children if they themselves lack the education that's necessary. So one of the things that I ask of parents, of communities, of industries, of businesses is that we first need to do the work of educating ourselves. And then there's a ring that goes out to family, and then that ring goes out to businesses in the community, and then it goes up to policies. So what's happening, what we're seeing is this gap is about education itself. There is in cybersecurity educations in schools in the Bahamas, and that's a part of our national cybersecurity strategy. We want to make sure that education for cybersecurity, and then by extension on child online protection, is a part of our national agenda that starts from K to tertiary level. We want to make sure that our workforce understands cybersecurity, and cybersecurity is embedded into our operations and our procedures within organizations. And we're talking about the protection of children and the rights of children, even in those businesses, because again, we need to make sure that the human element, and a lot of this is captured. And this is what the issue is, the gap is.
And that is so true, especially when it comes to cybersecurity. I think the first thing I think we need to be looking at is that how well the parents understand the computers, how they work these devices, because they always say that, well, the children, you know more than me. The child maneuver around these things, but the parents are not trying to get themselves involved because fair. I think the first thing is fair, and you are right when you say education. And I love the fact that I heard from you that it's a national plan to get cybersecurity knowledge within the schools, which is a perfect thing because when I notice when our students leave from here to go away to school, when they get to classes, they found out that they're behind, way behind, and other children either they can program, it was a normal thing for them to do that, or they participated inside Robo League, they participated inside Capture the Flag, and these all at a primary school level of that.
And so this education, like you're saying, is also about building national capacity.
Yes.
We have a talent issue, especially when we think about technology in the country. You're going to need staff and a couple, you're going to need them now. Let's just say
Yes.
you need them now. So that means that it's important that there's public-private partnerships that will allow us
Totally agree.
to build the national capacity that we need so that there's limited dependency on outsourced capacity.
Totally
We
agree.
also need to make sure that we figure out how to get children into the pipeline through specialized programs for everyone, for out island students,
Yes.
for girls, for people who want to change careers.
Yes.
They have to be intentional if we want to talk about how to build capacity. And capacity doesn't only come from children, it comes from everyone. This cybersecurity issue is everybody's business. We say this all the
Yes.
time, it's everybody's business, but the capacity issue is a national one. And the way how we address it is that we have to work together at a national level to address it.
That's right, PPP.
That's
Private
right.
partnership with the government.
Yes.
And also I heard Mr. Akitas even talked about a program, the same program that you mentioned about being able to help young people to understand and learn about cybersecurity. So when I hear the government, and he mentioned legislation, say, oh, well, we will be, legislation will be coming. So once I hear the legislation coming along, which is needed, because what we have in place may not be adequate or may need to be revised, and to hear legislations coming in place for cybersecurity and all of that. And I know that you've been involved so much in all of this in the background, creating the National Cybersecurity Plan and all of that. So I want you to give our listeners just a little snippet of what CERT is all about, because CERT BS has played a pivotal role and like we told someone that we so love CERT because when we see the notification comes out, we enjoy those notifications. Yes, we have CERT on standby. So tell us about CERT, what CERT is.
So thank you so much for that. Right now, the CERT is the government agency that coordinates cybersecurity incident response or computer security incident response. And we do this through a series of services that we provide to both the public and private sector. We have 5 core services: vulnerability management, incident response, which is our core service, education and awareness, we have situational awareness, and we have security events management. So this is your threat intelligence, monitoring, detection. These are all services that we're building out in a phased approach. So we care about our government agencies, obviously. They're important to us, so we need to add value there, but we certainly care about protecting critical information infrastructure agencies. These are the agencies that if their services were to be disrupted, they will disrupt the operations of the country. So that's your healthcare, your energy, your food supply, your maritime, those transportation and communication types of organization. So what the CERT does is we provide services to both public and private sector. And some of those services, like I mentioned before, are proactive. That's before an incident happens. So you've seen our advisories, our early warnings, you've seen vulnerability reports, you've seen us go out and provide education and awareness. We've done simulated exercise. All of this is a part of that work to get people aware, make them aware of our threat landscape, what could potentially impact them. And then also we provide incident response when after an incident has occurred to support our constituents as well. So I like to say that the CERT is a CERT plus. We have a big agenda. So outside of the core technical operations that we provide to the country, we're also the cybersecurity authority in the country responsible for developing as well as implementing the national cybersecurity strategy. you would have heard me speak just now, and I talked about a child online protection strategy. And this is one of our newest project, one of our star projects this year. We plan to seek cabinet's approval for this draft strategy and focus or embed that as a part of our national strategy as well. So that's in a nutshell what CERT does, but we do quite a bit.
And I think you and your team also will be participating tomorrow inside the workshop.
Yes.
I look forward to seeing your team at work because you have a great team. I think that they are fantastic. And believe me, we enjoy seeing the information comes out back and forth, the advisors, the notifications. So that is spot on. And when I see it, I reading through the same thing at the same time, I say, look, sir, is on board.
Well, thank you. So one of the things I'll say is tomorrow, CERT BS will be conducting a workshop. And we wanted to tailor it to small businesses.
Right.
And our workshop is on how to develop a cybersecurity program with $0 when you have zero budget. And I know lots of times when, as cybersecurity professionals, we think we need to ask for so much money. And we do need resources. But sometimes we don't have it. And so the question that we're trying to answer tomorrow is, how do you start when you don't have the budget? What can we give people some tangible takeaways that they can do now to start to build their cybersecurity program? And also, I want to take an opportunity, if you have not had a chance to read our national cybersecurity strategy, we have some printed booklets at our booth. So we have a booth there. Okay. We're talking about the strategy itself. We're talking about child online protection, as well as we're talking about our Cyber Reef program, where we're offering threat intelligence as a service. So visit our booth around the corner, around the hall, as well as please attend our workshop to hear more about CERT, as well as to learn about how to build a cybersecurity program with zero budget.
Most definitely, I will go and get a copy of the National Cybersecurity Strategy because I've read cybersecurity strategy from other jurisdictions and to know that we have one here in the Bahamas.
It's a good
definitely, I can get a cup of coffee and sit down and go through it and digest it as well.
Thank you. And it's also online. You can find it on our website as well.
That's great.
And either way. So thank you.
And I will be there tomorrow.
Okay.
To not only to participate, but also to cheer you and your team on as well.
Thank you. We appreciate the support.
They are us. Here inside the Bahamas, we have the talent here, and I believe that we do. I've always believed that. And like you mentioned, we don't have to go in and shift talent here, but they are right here, Chrome, local, and us just taking the information and sharing it amongst ourselves and working together. Because we realize that the malicious actor, they're working together. So in order for us to defend ourselves and our country and to help other companies defend themselves inside our country, we have to work together. So we thank you so much for leading the way, and we will be supporting CERT in every which way. So you don't have to worry, you have our support.
Thank you so much.
Definitely. We thank you so much for
this
time.
For having
I want
me.
you to be able to listen.
Invite me again.
We will have you again. And to our listeners, again, we have Symmetria McKinney, Director of CERT Bahamas. Yes, we thank you for watching, and we will be right back.
So welcome back, our Cyber Alert podcast listeners. We are here again at the Alive Cyber Summit, and I am so excited. We are here all day, and we're at the ending of our podcast, but we have a very special guest. I think it's an important guest that we really have to bring on today, and we have the Deputy CISO of Central Bank, Levan Roll. Welcome to our podcast.
It's great to have you. Welcome. Thank you.
So, I wanted to start off with, being in cybersecurity and at Central Bank. I know, Central Bank is really one of the regulators inside the country, and it's a really huge deal. And to be CISO at Central Bank, it's a lot. So I want to know, why is cybersecurity at Central Bank very important?
Okay, well, when we look at the role that central bank plays, being the regulator in the financial sector, if there were to be an incident that impacted the central bank, it doesn't only impact the central bank. It impacts the Bahamas. It impacts the economy. If the central bank is unable to function for 12 hours, 24 hours, That means that money cannot move in and out of the country for 12 to 24 hours. So, and cybersecurity implication or cybersecurity event at the central bank has such a broad focus that it must be and it has to be treated with priority. If we look at cybersecurity at the central bank and we decided to take an approach, or the executives decided to take an approach that, well, that's just another thing that we have to do. We'll get to it. Like some of the presenters said earlier,
Right.
At the board level, they must also have an understanding of what cybersecurity is and its implications, because we cannot afford to be down.
Right. Right.
And so when I saw that some of the things that you presented, you're talking about fraud dated thousands of years back, and talking about the evolution of payment coins and all of that. I know the central bank has led inside this particular area with regards to the payment platform. So when the central bank, when you first started looking at introducing the payment platform, how much of cybersecurity was embedded in all of that whole process when you were building it out?
So when I came to the central bank, the CBDC that you may be referring to
Yes.
was already built. So I came in after it was implemented. But in reviewing some of the documentation and now being involved in the project and its continuity, cybersecurity was the bedrock of that CBDC. And most persons don't know that the central bank digital currency, Sand Dollar, wasn't something local. We were the first country in the
Yes.
world to launch
Remember
a
that,
CBDC.
yeah.
The country that came after us was China.
Wow. Wow. So in essence, we are leading.
We are leading.
We are leading.
Number one.
We're leading the world.
And the thing here is that we are leading the world inside that area, and we want to ensure that we lead the world when it comes to cybersecurity, and especially with forum like this. So when you came to the forum, how important do you think forums such as this, the Live Cybersecurity Forum, to help persons understand what goes on?
Listen, I strongly encourage and strongly advise anyone, not only in the cybersecurity space, not only in the IT space, but the general public, to please, please, please come onto these events. Because it not only allows you to see what's happening or see what has happened in the financial sector or in cybersecurity more broadly, but it gives you an opportunity to network with the persons in the field. So we may have high school students that they say, okay, well, I want to go into cybersecurity. I want to go into something in tech.
Right.
They're not sure what can be done, what opportunities exist, what individuals they need to connect with. And just being here in this environment gives them that opportunity. And it's something that I think we need to take greater advantage of, not only being C-suite, not only being in the field, but the general public, those persons interested, and anyone really that has any device, who's everyone today.
It's like you totally agree. And I know at the end of your presentation, you mentioned about one of the things that is my pet peeve, and that is awareness training. Awareness training, training persons, your employees, and you highlight the significance of that being done. So for our listeners, will understand a part of what you say and how important is awareness training.
Mm-hmm. So in my presentation, I alluded to a sum of $1.85 billion being lost.
Wow.
And that was not anyone compromising a firewall. That wasn't someone trying to brute force a password. That was someone sending you a phishing email. That was someone calling you and saying, I'm so-and-so, when actually they're not. So those are only social engineering attacks, which ultimately led to $1.85 billion being lost.
Wow.
And when we can communicate that, and when we can make the executives or the general public aware of what the impact has been,
Yes.
I think it's going to have a greater push towards security awareness training
And same thing.
across the
Right.
country.
I was gonna say that because throughout the podcast this whole day, everyone has been talking about awareness, and we know, like all of us as cybersecurity professionals, we know how important awareness is, and I found it so interesting how the theme of it has just been going through, and even in the boardroom and communicating to executives. Tell us a little bit more with the executives and boardrooms. How do you communicate with them? What are some practical things that folks at home can know how, like when it's time to say, okay, well, I will have to present something, or even as cybersecurity professionals as well, how do they communicate those cyber technical skills or technical things to on a boardroom level?
So what I do is I call it you're translating English to English. because in IT space, I may come to you and I may say, oh, we have 12 vulnerabilities on this firewall. We have port 443 open. We have RDP open to the world. When you go to the executives, that means nothing.
Yes.
Nothing. Executives understand one thing: risk. And the only thing they want to know about this risk is what's
Money.
the impact and how much it's going to cost us.
Yes.
How much is going to cost us? So I would say when you go into the boardroom, the conversation you should be having isn't what vulnerabilities exist and how they can be exploited. The conversation should be, if these vulnerabilities exist and they are exploited, what's the greater harm? What is the impact to the institution? And the way that I do that at the central bank is we use a degree of financial quantification. So this vulnerability exists. According to our internal policy documents, if this vulnerability is exploited, it can cost the bank X amount of dollars. So now the onus is with the executives.
Right.
I, sitting where I sit as deputy CISO, I would recommend, and in institutions also, I think it has to come with a level of mutual respect and familiarity. It can't only be structured formal communication. You must be able to, like I say, translate English to English and have an offline conversation with your executives. If you only see them in the boardroom, every time you come to them, you say, I need this thing, it's always going to seem like an ask.
Yes.
They don't understand. So you need to know your executive team so that you can understand how to communicate with them. It can be that every time you come, you're asking for $20 million.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because regardless of what you say after that, from they see your face and they say, oh, $20 million.
We don't want to hear from him.
Yeah.
He always, when you walk around the office, he always would ask for money.
But when you communicate risk, and what I've seen happen in the central bank is when I give a report to the managers or the executives, I don't speak about what vulnerabilities exist. I'll speak about how security awareness can change. I'll speak about how these vulnerabilities can have a greater impact in the bank. I can speak about the potential loss. I can speak about emerging technologies. And more times than not, when I leave those meetings, persons come to me and they follow up. Levan, I heard you say this thing about AI. Can you tell me more? They have no idea what the vulnerability is.
No.
But they want to know more about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. That's good.
That's interesting. Okay, so I have one more question to ask, right? What do you want to leave with people today after your presentation, after seeing everything that's going on? What are something that you want to tell the Bahamian people that about cybersecurity or something that they need to be involved in or understand about?
The basics of cybersecurity for just the layperson, anyone. Don't be afraid to try something new if it doesn't work the first time. Because I find that many times, let's use them trying to speak to the executives, for example, many times persons say, I've been doing this thing over and over for years and it's not working. But have you tried to do it in a different way?
Yeah.
You can't be afraid to step out of your comfort box to try something new. I think that's the definition of insanity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Trying the same thing over and over and over and expecting different
See
results.
different results.
Yeah. So don't be comfortable. Don't be afraid to change. And as you go through your life, as you go through your day, make sure that you're keeping up with the world around you, because you can very, very easily be left behind in the IT and cybersecurity space.
Most definitely, because cybersecurity is dynamic.
Very
And
dynamic.
and it changes every day,
Every
every
minute.
second.
Every
Every
Man, I'm still
second.
trying to keep up. Like, I don't know. Yeah, but thank you so much for being on our podcast and being able to tell everyone about cybersecurity and just continue on. I'm telling you, being just here, I am just excited, just glad to be around meeting different people. And I'm sure you also get the same experience and you as well. So thank you
Definitely.
so much for being on our podcast. And we're going to end today on a high note. And we want to thank everyone for listening on and being able to just sit down and learn more about cybersecurity. We learned today that cybersecurity is it's not an IT thing, but it's something that everyone can be involved in. It's everyone's business, like everyone that we heard all day today. So thank you so much. We also want to thank SSB who helped us with our setup today with the podcast mics and everything, and also Alive for having us here today. But with that being said, we'd like to thank you, and we'll see you on our next episode.
And I'm Shervin, and I'm out.
Yeah, definitely.
See you again.
Have a good day, everyone.
Bye-bye.